of the brand new ones just put in front of the road improvements east of Airport Road aren't working, and they've only been out there for a couple of months. I know of 2 deaths on 98, one outside my building at Beach, happened late at night at midnight, one at 172 on Harbor Boulevard 98 of a pedestrian walking across back on March 6th. I'm sure there are many more. I don't know the responsibility of the city. I would assume from a legal point of view, there could be some negligence liability if those streetlights were out and contributed to those deaths. I think it's a serious problem. It seems like nobody else does that I've tried to contact. I hope that somebody here will look into it, will see it as a serious problem. It's a health and safety problem. It's not beach access, and it's not some of these other things that I know are important, but it probably is the most important thing that you as a board have to deal with is the safety and welfare of the community, and I hope somebody will look into it.
We will. You've brought it out clearly. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor? It's over here. Sorry.
Go ahead there.
Can I make a comment on this?
You sure?
Yeah. Sir, I recall when you came to the committee and presented this information, and it was just as shocking and frustrating at that point. I don't recall if it was right before COVID or not, but I mean, I do remember when you did this, and the direction I believe at the time was to ask the city staff and some of the code enforcement and different people to drive around when they're doing their ride-arounds to start taking notice of those things, and obviously a lot's happened over the past year. But I do think it's a very important topic of our streets to be lighting them up. So how can we figure out, how can we get a plan? How do we ask for staff to give us an idea of how they go about resolving this particular situation with safety?
What we'll do is we'll finish public comment, put that under your comment period. We'll have a robust discussion, make motions, do whatever we got to do.
Sounds good.
Okay? We'll get through the public comment period. And I'm not trying to pan this off, but we'll keep it as ordered.
Thank you,
These people
sir.
have a right to speak. So I appreciate your comments. And I don't know if you want to hang around to the very end, but Mr. Schmidt will bring that up. We'll have a robust debate. Okay, still working my way this way. Anyone here in the center? Seeing none, I'm going to move over here. Anybody? Marcy, you want to come up? Okay, anyone else? Thank you. All right, well, at this point and period of time, I'll go ahead and close the public comment period, and I will turn to Mr. Destin, and we'll go ahead and have the discussion on the code amendment. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, and I will just repeat my motion to direct staff to work with the attorney representing the condo association to come back to us with a suitable fix.
I'll
And I
second
think-
it. My second stands.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. Any comments to this motion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and take a vote. The vote is unanimous, so moved.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, sir. Let's go. Had to use my agenda for my note-taking. City manager report.
Before we do that, Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure if Ray or if we have anybody
Oh, I'm
online.
sorry. Thank you for correcting me. James, you got anybody?
I believe so, Mr. Mayor. Matthew Trammell, if you're still online with us, I see your hand raised there. If you wanted to speak, feel free to go ahead.
Yes, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Mr. Trammell, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to set the record straight. I think it's
State your name and address, Matt, for the public record.
Matthew Trammell, 735 Planet Drive. I was the engineer of record on the stabilization component of Noriega Point, and it was a good point brought up by Mr. Schmidt. We kind of lost some institutional knowledge with some of the staff that's left over the last few years. but I just wanted everyone to know what went into that design. So there's a very robust T-groin system, sheet pile walls, both parallel with the shoreline and perpendicular. And I recall many conversations with Councilmember Braden. There was a lot of Blue Ribbon Panel Committee meetings. I think Mr. Destin was there. But the function of those structures is to be pre-filled, and then for an average wave condition, they will reach a point of equilibrium. I mean, can you tell me how many hurricanes we're going to get next year? If you can, I can tell you what the shoreline will look like. We know very accurately what that shoreline will look like, but how many charter boats are going by, whether or not they're paying attention to the no wake sign, what the mean and extreme wave conditions are going to be. No one anticipated an 80-mile-an-hour wind out of the north with Hurricane Michael, but we had that. Just to set the record straight on that comment, and then Mr. Schmidt, to your point, it's very good, and it's good you're thinking ahead. You're going to need to dredge Destin Harbor entrance channel. We dredged it a couple years ago. Prior to Noriega Point stabilization, we were dredging it every year. We dredged it every year for 3 years. I don't see us needing to dredge that for another couple years, thank goodness, barring any major storm events. But the intent of the design was when we do, the Corps of Engineers, the city of Destin, the county, whomever, when we come in and dredge the mouth of Destin Harbor, that sand can very cost effectively be dredged and placed within those embayments. But no project is going to be maintenance free. I want to be very clear on that. We're dealing with Mother Nature. We're going to have maintenance out on that point. Compared to what it was, it's going to be a fraction, of what we had been spending. But I want you all to understand there will be maintenance required, but where we are dredging once a year, maybe it's 5, 7, 10 years. If we have calm events, I imagine it's going to be that 10 years. But it is something you should be thinking about as time moves forward. So that was it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Trammell. And being a legacy fisherman for 45 years, I know we didn't build that project on granite rock or dirt. It's a sand existence, and sand doesn't stick around here. Mr. Destin and I both remember what Double Yellow Bluff used to look like prior to Hurricane Opal, and it's a fraction of its size. So when you deal with Mother Nature and you're dealing with sand and dealing with waves and wind, all we can do is the very best we could do and expect to have to spend money to fix it when it's all over. That's my only comments there. Anyone else?
Mayor, I had a comment.
Sure.
Go
ahead.
Is Matt still on the line?
Is Mr. Trammell still online?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a question?
Yeah,
for
hopefully.
him?
Yeah, I was
Muted.
just wondering, when you made the comment of setting the record straight, what were you trying to set straight?
Oh, your comment to where when you mentioned that you asked me what the shoreline would look like in the future, and I said I had no idea. I believe perhaps I may have been taken out of context. If you had asked me what the shoreline looks like 2 years from now, I can't tell you definitively without knowing what those coastal conditions are. I can tell you pretty accurately if we don't have any major hurricanes, it'll look very similar to what it does today.
Yeah, like you stated, you'd had a lot of meetings, talked to a lot of people, but I had one meeting, and that was with you and Casella in his office, and maybe somebody else in there, and I remember distinctly, and that's exactly what I just explained to the rest of the council, that you'd said, because I asked the question, how much would that erode, and you said you had no idea because of the winds and waves and the sand, or the tide and everything else, which was true, and that's exactly what you said, and that's nobody can tell. So I just didn't want to know if I was saying something wrong or
No. No, I just wanted to add that additional detail, and just for the new council members and anyone else that may be listening, a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of thought, a lot of research, a lot of data went into that design, and that's all I wanted. Just wanted to clarify, make sure everyone understood. There was, for those of us who've been working on it for the last 6-7 years, yourself, Mr. Destin, the rest of the council members, we all know how much work went into that, and I think we all should be very proud of it.
I agree. Thank you so much. That's all I meant.
Thank you.
The record is straight. Anyone else, James?
No, sir, not at this time.
Any text messages or
No, sir.
No? All right. Well, at this time, I'm going to go ahead and close the public comment period. And now I will turn it over to our illustrious city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 4A is regarding the United States Army Corps of Engineer and the Coast Guard Station dredging. What we have is an opportunity, if we want it, to obtain some sand at no charge to the city that we could place on Noriega Point. Pardon me, I'm going to remove this for a second. We could place on Noriega Point. There are permits pending by the Army Corps delineating 2 locations on Noriega Point. One at the base of the I want to call it a dune, but I know they called it something else earlier, so I'll stand corrected later. But at the base of that area, the other being the area we talked about that is on the harbor side where there has been some erosion done. This is up to the council if we want to do it. It should be a benefit to both the park and to the harbor. It will protect the harbor, it will protect the park. But if for some reason the council doesn't want to do it, the Corps has a backup plan. They can place that sand on the Army Corps property by the East Jetty that's managed by FDEP. So,
Mayor, I'd like to make that motion.
All right, I got some people queued up, and if y'all don't mind that are queued up, we'll go ahead and make a motion in a second and then have discussion, like Robert's rules. Go ahead, ma'am.
I move that the city council authorize sand from the U.S. Coast Guard Station and Channel Basin dredging project to be placed within Noriega Point Park as proposed.
I'll second.
I got a motion and I got a second. First up, Mr. Brayton.
Thank you, Mayor. City Manager, you said you went to a meeting with the Corps on this? Did you say you had a meeting with the Corps of Engineers on this? Or who?
I did not. Mr. Warren has been heading this up, and he has had multiple conversations with the Corps about this, and he can answer specific questions.
But you didn't go to a meeting on this? We're talking about the sand and where it was going to be placed, or could it be placed there?
Not a specific meeting with regards to the placement of this sand.
Okay, and who's been basically ramrodding it?
Mr. Warren.
Mr. Moore?
Webb, I'm sorry.
Webb.
Oh, Warren, okay.
Yes, the Coast Guard.
Talk.
The Coast Guard and Army Corps of Engineers did approach the city about this project and introduced the idea. We did have a online meeting in October, and we asked several questions before we brought this item to council.
Did you have legal counsel with you at that time?
Yes, our city attorney was part of that phone call.
Okay, my question would be, why did you think you needed to have legal counsel with that meeting?
We, in past dredging projects, we did have, with part of East Pass dredging, we did have legal as part of that process.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Next up is Dr. Ramswell. No, I'm sorry, Mr. Destin.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
And Mr.
On the face of it, it looks like a pretty good idea. However, I've got 2 issues, and I'd like to ask questions about and see if we can't address those. One is the color of the sand. I don't know if any of you guys looked at the color and the samples of the sand that were in the report. Not exactly pretty and white. If we spread that sand all over what's basically the first thing people see when they come over that bridge into Destin, I think we're going to probably be a laughingstock if it's not white. The other problem I have is it proposed, and the location, if the sand is white, is good on that side. As Mr. Trammell testified in his comments earlier, we've had to dredge the mouth of the pass numerous times in the past. Matter of fact, we had to pay for it ourselves one time to the tune of about $200,000. Yes. If we take that sand from the Coast Guard and put it along that shore on the inside mouth of the harbor, we'll just have the pleasure of picking that up the next time we pay a few $100,000 and moving that sand somewhere else, because it will fall off and shallow up the mouth of the harbor there. So if we do determine that we should do it, then it all needs to be on the other side. It doesn't need to be on that inside.
Yeah, and I think Pierce stated that they were going to move some sand behind that erosion of the pretty white sand.
Yes, and the erosion we're getting there is not erosion that's caused by natural causes. As Matt spoke earlier, it's boat traffic, it's people pulling the bow of their boat up there and backing away to get away, and so we're not going to be able to fix that by adding more sand. We're just going to make it worse. So I would suggest that we require that all the sand go on the other side, but I'm not real happy with the color. As I read through the document, it appeared that the person guaranteeing the color was going to be right was a Coast Guard official. And I'm not so sure the DEP is not the folks that are supposed to be doing that. So I have questions about the sand color. The idea of putting it over there is good because those abatements will erode periodically. That's what they're designed to do. But we need to have white sand, guys, not some.
But it was also pointed out that if we don't agree to put the sand there, that they're going to put it 500 yards further down by the finger
Absolutely,
jetty.
and they will have put brown sand on the beach and not us.
Point well taken.
And for some technical questions, council, we do have Wayland Register from the Army Corps of Engineers online. So if there's any technical questions, he might be able to answer those.
Oh, I guess if he's listening, he heard my concerns. The color of the sand does not look like it would match the white sand that's over on that point. I'd welcome any comments on how we can fix that problem.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, sir. Go ahead and answer Mr.
Excellent.
Destin's concerns.
The trouble with sand is there's no real way to know what you're getting until you get it. However, we have dredged the boat basin, in the past, and the sand that came out of there before, we spread on the Coast Guard station where their volleyball courts are, and that was pretty nice, clean, white stuff. So we would expect what we get is going to be very similar. But, yeah, again, there's no way to give any kind of 100% guarantee.
Okay, and I'll just make this comment for the council, as you drive over the bridge toward the Coast Guard station, if you will look to the shoreline over there that runs to the Coast Guard station, you will see a striation of dark colored sand. My fear is that we're going to get that and spread it all over our pretty project that we've now spent 12 years and have covered with pretty white sand.
To clarify, alternatives we're looking at is not necessarily placing it on the what we call the sandbag, the parcel B area, and where the east jetty is, but rather at the scour hole at the tip of the west jetty and the deep water there where it erodes away.
Roger that. Thank you for that correction. Next up is first, Dr. Ramswell. Would you have any comments, or while we have the Coast Guard
Perfect.
gentleman on the line here?
Thank you, and thank you for being online, Mr. Register. My comment is that according to Florida statutes, the inlet management plan, and the critically eroded beaches summary, which came out in June of last year, sand that is dredged is supposed to be placed on the most critically eroded areas. And right now, the most critically eroded areas, and this is according to that critically eroded beaches of Florida came out last year, is that inlet right over there by the Osteen Beach access. That is the #1 most eroded spot. And then that's followed by the Holiday Isle Gulf Front, and then further down over, sort of just past, excuse me, where Danny Werfel Way is. If you keep going down, I think that's almost over by Crab Trap area. But those are, according to the plan, the worst spots, with the inlet being the absolute worst, because most of that has eroded back to the point where an inland parcel is now waterfront. So my suggestion and recommendation would be to follow in accordance with statutes and the recommendations of these plans to place it in the most critically eroded area, which would be that inlet area. Mr. Register, are you familiar with that area and its erosion?
No, I'm not. Where is this at?
It's the section that's actually right off the Osteen Beach access, and parcel B would be behind it. by the Finger Jetty area.
Okay. So along the channel there?
Yeah, the curve area that actually several years ago, there was a big hole that was problematic, and it's continued to erode in that area and around to the Finger Jetty.
Is that the scour area he was referring to?
I think so.
Well, that would be a perfect solution.
No, the scour area is at the tip of the spur jetty, sticks out. The water there is very deep and is causing the rocks to basically slide down into the hole. So periodically that needs to be filled in.
So that'd be the alternative place that it would be put and not actually on the beach? It'd actually fill in around the rocks?
Yes, to help stabilize the structure.
Could we get an image up of that? I don't know if someone can throw up, I don't know, Google Maps or something that would show that area? 101 E6 area. So continue east and down.
Other side. Yeah.
To the east. Yes,
There you go,
right there.
That's our peep area.
Yeah, you
All
can see
that-
there,
Yeah.
dark color is very deep, and you can see where the rocks have been collapsing.
Yep, that area below that little Finger Jetty or whatever, and both sides of that up around into the curve. Because if you look at the actual parcel boundaries, you'll see the parcel lines now out in the water for the public area.
Yes.
So that would be my recommendation, would be that we place it the most critically eroded area, which would be there. And especially since Mr. Barrett mentioned earlier that they already have plans to be filling in that section over there on the point with the sand that they're pulling as they build the restrooms and such over there.
All right. Thank you. Mr. King?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is that, and this is just a question, is that not, like Councilman Destin was saying, as far as the sand eroding from Noriega Point, would that not put the sand even closer to the pass, to where we would have to eventually dredge it from there as well? Does that make sense?
That makes sense. And I'm not the expert, but my understanding is the Finger Jetty prevents that northern section from doing it. But again, I'm not the expert. That's speculation.
I don't think anybody here can answer that.
Yeah, Mr. Barrett or Mr. Register, did y'all hear that question? And maybe y'all have some insight?
As far as where the sand goes when it erodes from the shoreline, that's a little beyond me. If Matt Trammell's on, he may be able to answer that one. But yeah, periodically we do, we consider that area, our sand dike, the sand extension of the jetty, and every so often we do, pump material on there when we do our regular inlet maintenance dredging and rebuild the sand dike.
I just think it's pretty funny. We've got Osteen beach access, and right now it leads to no beach access almost because it's gone. It's been eroded out.
You good? Mr. Schmidt?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question, do we have the opportunity to suggest a different spot, or is it that, or they choose? Like, I know Dr. Ranswell is suggesting something else. Is that an option?
And I don't know if Mr. Register wants to answer this, but the way it was proposed to the city is that we basically have first right of refusal for the sand on Noriega Point, and they have that other auxiliary permitted area in the works to place it.
So sir, do we have the option to change that red rectangle projected area?
I think so. At this point, we're working in the permitting phases of this and trying to find somewhere to put the sand. And, we would like for the sand to go to some sort of beneficial use. And so, giving the city of Destin, the first option to help us identify somewhere to put it. And, failing that, we'll have to go to, Plan B or Plan C.
Sure. Thank you.
And-
So the, Mr. Trammell and other people said that the design of those swells are to erode, and that it was expected, and the designing of that area, that we will have to put sand back on there. Based on y'all's experience and history, and Mr. Destin, when the time comes, like, where would we, if we're gonna have to put sand there, is there certain areas that we'll be able to dredge from that we have a higher probability of getting matching sand? If the pass isn't needed, or the harbor is not needed to be dredged?
I think, in fact, the maintenance dredging that he referred to earlier is where we usually got the sand to go back into those abatements, and that comes out of the middle of the channel, and we've never had a problem with the color. It's just, I mean, it was very key to what the gentleman said earlier. We can't guarantee color. I would not take the chance of putting discolored sand on that beautiful project we just did, and I appreciate their offer, and I'd like to help the Coast Guard, but I wouldn't take that chance.
Well, I would like to, I mean, Dr. Ramswell has a great idea. If it sounds like they're willing to have recommendations on a change of where we can possibly put it, and if they're open for those recommendations, I mean, I think a potential change in the motion or something to reposition that sand to an area that's not as in your face.
Yeah, and it is an existing spoils easement over there, so that should be fairly simple process. I'm happy to make a substitute motion to place the sand on the inlet area over by the Osteen Beach access and finger jetty. So that'll be a formalized substitute motion.
I was just going to withdraw mine, but I couldn't get called on. Y'all keep talking
Yeah,
and change it.
I had you next, ma'am. Sorry about that. We're violating our own rules, our guides. It's not a rule. Would you like to withdraw that motion?
Well, I was going to ask if we are allowed by the Coast Guard rules to say we'd like the sand, but if it's not white, can we put it at the finger jetty versus on the beach where it would be white? So if they are going to give it to us, could we decide when it came up, okay, it's not white, we want it at the finger jetty. It is white, we want it on the Noriega Point.
It's kind of hard to do because when it's wet, when they're dredging,
They're not gonna
you
do-
can't tell the color until it dries. So
Just-
it's going to be either or here, I think. is the
Just
only-
move it to the finger
And
jetty
what I-
alternative?
Yes, excuse me, Mayor, what I'd point out is if it's discolored, it will be on the beach at the edge of the jetty, unless they put it in the scour hole where they propose as their second choice. And if it goes in the scour hole, it really doesn't matter what color it is, it's under 30 feet of water.
Mr. King?
Yeah, I spoke to a guy that's in the it's in the dirt work business, and this is essentially, it's masonry sand, it's white sand, and it would be, this would be coming from Navarre, and it's $30 a load, $30 a yard. You're talking about 3,000 to 10,000 yards. I mean, if there was any way to use it for the city, if we had somewhere to use it, I mean, that's anywhere from $90,000 to $300,000 worth of sand.
Yeah, and I had another constituent that's got to move a bunch of pretty white sand that he's selling right now that maybe we could use in that location at a later date.
Which location?
Anywhere like the harbor side, backfill, where the
Over
concern here is putting.
On point.
Yeah. That's right. And so, thank you for that, Mr. King. Mr. Braden, we'll go with you, and then we'll entertain a new motion and vote on that. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Just my 2 cents on it. I mean, as much as I hate to turn down sand, and we could use all we could, possibly get out there on Noriega Point, but it's not, right now it's not in dire need or emergency for that. And they, I believe, not several years ago, 3, 4, 5 years ago, I don't know if the Corps did a emergency dredging to fill that hole off the finger jetty, because I know a lot of the dive shops and the snorkel boats and stuff was raising Cain because they was filling it in. And now it's all gone. I dove that spot last year and it was already at 50 feet, which is pretty deep for right there. So that sand's going somewhere pretty quick, but yeah, I think, yeah, it's washing it out. So that's probably going to be the better spot for it.
Okay.
Like I say, we got to dredge that pass 3 or 4 years, and we'll probably need that pretty white sand then, so.
All right, well then, Dr. Ramsell, I think you had a secondary motion, which will now be the primary motion, if you'd like to go ahead and entertain that now.
Sure. So I move that the City Council authorize the sand from the U.S. Coast Guard Station and Channel Basin dredging project to be placed over at the inlet area near Noriega Point, the Osteen Beach access and the Finger Jetty.
I have a motion,
I'll second that.
and I have a second. We've had a lot of discussion on it, so I think we'll go ahead and take a vote.
One more question, Mayor,
No,
if I may.
go ahead, sir.
Staff, the city has a white sand ordinance that requires staff to look at the sand and determine whether it's white enough or not. Have you done that? Or will you do that? And at what point would you do that in this process?
We will be coordinating with them in order to do that. We were going to do that on this project too.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, Webb.
I'm sorry. We will be coordinating with them as this process moves on in order to check that ordinance and make sure it is in compliance if it was going on Noriega Point, and if it's also required for the state lands in near the Finger Jetty, that will also occur.
All right, at this point, without any further comments or questions, let's go ahead and take it to a vote. Ayes, the vote is 6-1, so moved. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 4B is an update on the Compass, also known as InterGov, and we have Matthew Pace online to give us that update.
Good evening, everyone. Just want to first start by saying that we're now in the testing phase of InterGov, and the project's overall success is going to be contingent upon our staff fully committing to completing this testing. And our departmental users are the only ones that can actually fully test their departmental processes within the system modules. This testing cannot be outsourced. So we're doing the best we can, but we need to make sure that we are fully committed to that. Once staff testing phase is complete, I'm going to be presenting with the Community Development and Code Compliance Department a beta version to the members of the public so we can see it in action and get some critical feedback, and that was hopefully going to be in January. And we're going to also show how the citizen portal works and get some, like I said, critical feedback with that. So in order to move on to this beta phase, it's necessary to have some testing completed. And what I prepared for you tonight is just an implementation update on the program for those that are new to the council. This is a little bit of a purview to what we've been working on for the last year. And it will give you an idea of how the Compass system works. If you would like a more in-depth look at this, we can always do that for you later on. But we can go to the next slide, James. So our progress, keep going. We are in the final testing and training phase. And once we get this completed, and like I said, all of the testing is done with the public, we will go into production cutover, and that will allow us to set it up nicely for a go live in early 2021. But for right now, this is a critical juncture in the implementation process. Next slide. Go ahead. Right now, we've fully implemented a GIS system into our InterGov solution, which we call Compass. And it has been a work in progress for the last year. We have had the GIS department, which is under IT, work with the county to get some really good in-depth layers that we can utilize. We're going to start to try to expand those if we can. And we are working hand in hand with the county to make sure that this is a viable solution for the city. So these are just some images that you'll see. I think you go to the next slide, James. They break down a lot of layers. You can actually start a plan, permit, code case, business license right from a parcel. And so we really have been working on this. It's going to make it a lot easier from the back end of the system and as well as the customer support site. The CSS is what we call it. Next slide. Some of those GIS features, like I said, composing and adding additional layers to the create geo rules in the system, so they automatically can tag a property with the proper layers, whether it be a FEMA flood map or zoning or something along those lines. It will automatically alert people to where that is in the planning process or permit process. And we do have some web-based and enterprise map options as of right now until we move to our latest version, which will be after the initial release. Next slide. So what I'm going to talk about tonight a little bit more in depth is the customer self-service. And this is that CSS that I was talking about as part of Compass. This is what everyone has been waiting for. And this is a huge part of the EnerGov project. It probably rivals the back-end system, which the staff uses, but I think this is going to be a major help and addition to the city for citizens. So I'm happy to show it to you now. Next slide. This is basically the design. I've been working on this with our Tyler folks, but it's very simple to use. It's a button-friendly type process. You can see here, it is just a basic website. It is made for mobile devices, made for computers. It's a very versatile portal for customers to get onto. Next slide. This is just a shot of the back end where you can actually see the application assistant, and it shows you what's trending in the city. So it actually will push to the top the things that are most used by the citizens, and it will allow you to see those. You can also select by all or break it down even further into licenses, permits, or plans. And then you can start the application process from here. You can sign up an account. It's very simple, straightforward, and make it as easy as possible so we don't convolute the process. Next slide. Again, this is the map portion. GIS works across the board, whether you're in the back end or on the customer service side. So here you'll actually see the same type of map that you would have for the staff, and they can actually pull up search an address. It'll auto-populate, and it will tell you if you're in the city limits. It'll tell you which zone you're in, and we're hoping to have the future land use map also incorporated into this, so we can do a few other things as well in the back end. So next slide. This is the invoicing portion of the customer self-service portal. You can see here that it's a printable invoice. You can click on the little printer icon. It will print it out, ready to go. Has your invoice number. You can pay for this fee right online. So it's going to be a all in one-stop shop for everything. And you can see there's primary fees, miscellaneous fees, payments, and such. And it will give a breakdown of the fees that are applicable to the permit that you are applying for, the plan, and you can see it all here. And this will be available in your portal section. So as a citizen, you'll have a portal access, and you can see this information. You can also pay these fees without having an account. So if you were having someone take care of this for you and they didn't want to create an account, all you'd have to do is have your invoice number ready. Next slide. And this is the payment portal. It's obviously in demo mode right now as we're implementing this, but you can see here that there's a fee, and you can enter all of your billing information, and it will allow you to pay this information right online. So no more need to call in to make payments or do anything over the phone. This follows all of your PCI DSS compliancy, and we are working with very large vendors that handle this information and security very well. So. Next slide, James. And I believe that's everything for Compass right now. I'm going to be very happy to show this to you once we go live. And I think it's going to, like I said, open up a world of difference for the community development and code compliance department. I think this will be a real asset to Destin, and I'm looking forward to it. And if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to take them.
All right, stand by 1 second. Any council members have any questions on this presentation? Go ahead, Mr. Braid.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for that. And most of all, thank you for keeping this project moving full steam ahead. There's a lot of people looking forward to it. So thanks a lot. Great job to all involved.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation. Lance?
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next three items are housekeeping items due to us having new council members. The first of the three is appointment of city council representatives to the local and/or regional committees. There are 11 committees currently that we need representation on, and Mr. Bailey is going to facilitate this portion of the agenda.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As you know, there are several local and regional committees for which the City of Destin is represented by a member of the City Council. The agenda report lists all of them, and like the city manager said, are 11, and it also provides a brief description of each of the responsibility. Also listed are the previous council members, primary and alternate representatives. Tonight, the council may appoint or reappoint a primary and alternate member to each of the committee. So if council is ready to make that appointment, the first committee listed is the Economic Development Council Policy Board. Primary was Councilmember Overdeer, and alternate was Councilmember Ramswell.
Yeah, is there any changes to
Do you
that?
want to stay on it? Y'all want to stay on it?
Y'all want to
Skip,
remain
you
in
good?
place?
Yep.
You know what happens when you raise your hand and volunteer around here? Done. Right? That's what happened 2 years ago, Skip said. So that's what we'll do.
Can I have a motion and a second?
Yeah,
sir?
I'd suggest a motion.
Sure do.
Oh,
I have a motion, I have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none? Vote is unanimous, so moved. Congratulations.
The second one is the Northwest Florida League of Cities. Primary is Councilmember Ramswell, alternate Parker Destin.
Well, there you go. We're going to have a new replacement. So, go ahead, Mr. King.
Nominate Teresa, Councilwoman Abear, for the Northwest Florida League of Cities.
All right. We got a motion and a second.
Real quick, do we want
Sir?
to do a primary and an alternate here?
Yes.
The primary was
Me.
Dr. Ramswell, and this is for the secondary?
Just for the alternate, Johnny? Okay, and so the motion is to reinstall Dr. Ramswell as the primary and then Teresa as the alternate, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So noted. So we have a motion, second, okay with that change? Yep. Let's take it. Vote is unanimous, so moved. Congratulations.
Next, we have the Northwest Florida Military Sustainability Partnership. Primary, Mayor Jarvis, alternate Councilmember Ramswell.
Oh,
Has this even done anything?
not yet.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Unless you went and I didn't.
I'll make a
but yeah,
motion, I'll make a motion, those two members stay in place.
So we have a motion, we have a second, seeing no further discussion. Ayes have it, unanimous, so moved.
Next is the Northwest Florida Regional TPO. Primary, Councilmember Overdeer, alternate Parker Destin.
All right, so Mr. Overdeer would like to remain as primary, but we need a recommendation or a motion for a secondary.
I'll move that Kevin Schmidt,
I second that.
if he wants it.
Run now or forever hold your peace, Kev. He's good with it. We're voting.
Sir, Kevin Smith is alternate, right?
Yes. You got to be fast if you're going to run. Keep going, we're waiting on Mr. Braden. Ayes have it, so moved. Congratulations.
Next is the Okaloosa Walton TPO. Primary, we have two primaries. Councilmember Overdeer, Councilmember Morgan. Alternate was Parker Destin.
And I think, didn't we change this back when we were doing the medians, Rodney got interested in it and wanted to be on the TPO, and so we changed it where Rodney was the alternate. And I would entertain a motion to have Rodney as the primary, and I'll be the alternate if Rodney's.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second that.
Well, we have currently we've got 2 primaries, so.
I don't know how that happened either, or why that happened.
I think we can have 2 seats on the table, sir, on this one.
We do.
2 primaries and 1 or 2
How
alternates.
about you and Rodney as primary, and then one of our new members?
Sure.
Are you interested, Mr. King?
Not at this current moment.
Or Mr. Schmidt, since you're on the other one? Might be a good segue.
This is the
I'm gonna hold off for now.
Again?
No.
Teresa said she'll do it.
Okay, great.
Okay, so we have a motion now to make Rodney and Skip the primaries and Teresa the alternate.
Second.
And I have a second. Vote. Ayes have it. So moved. Congratulations.
Next, we have the Okaloosa County League of Cities. Normally, we have the mayor and the mayor pro tem on this one.
Sounds good to me.
We'll have to make a motion to put the new mayor pro tem, right?
Yes.
So, Councilmember Destin?
Yes.
I'll second that.
We'll make a hell of a team, sir. So we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none? Vote is unanimous, so moved. Congratulations.
Okay, we have the Okaloosa County Public Library Cooperative, primary, Councilmember Braden, alternate, Karen Marlar.
Teresa, would you like to sit on
Does anyone want it?
I'd be glad to nominate Mr. King since it's a very easy job.
What is that supposed to mean?
What is that supposed to be?
Johnny, I've missed one meeting in 6 years. You're good.
All right, Mr. King accepts that responsibility. We have a motion.
Sir, may I clarify, primary or alternate? Your primary, sir?
Right.
Okay.
Braden is primary, Mr. King is the alternate.
I'll second that motion.
We have a second.
Mr. Dustin did.
Any further discussion? Seeing none? Ayes have it, so moved, and after we're done with this little exercise in governmental control, we're going to take a break.
Okay, Okaloosa County Public Transit Cooperative, primary, Councilmember Overdeer, alternate, Councilmember Braden.
I think you guys want to stay? Yep, I need a motion. So moved, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. No further discussion. Ayes have it. So moved. Congratulations.
Next, we have the Tourist Development Council, primary, Councilmember Parker Destin, no alternate. No.
He accepts. Do we have a second? Yes, he does.
I'm already campaigning for it.
Got a second there, John?
I'll second it.
All right. We have a motion. We have a second. Any
Sir, do we want to appoint an alternate on this?
Yes, that would probably be good.
I'll make a motion to make Councilwoman Abear the alternate.
So we.
Quick, let me clean this up from a Robert's Rule standpoint. I think we've got a substitute motion to appoint Skip as primary and Teresa as alternate, because we already had a motion on the floor from Dewey.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
I'm still learning.
I was just hitting
I'm
the
still
button.
learning.
So, so noted. Any further discussion? Seeing none? Mr. Destin, we got to lock you in there. Ayes have it, so moved. Congratulations.
Okay, we have two more. Next one is Walton, Okaloosa, Santa Rosa Regional Utility Authority.
I made a motion, leave the members as they are.
Okay. That would be primary Mayor Jarvis, alternate Councilmember Braden.
And I accept.
You're skipping Braden a lot tonight.
That's actually a pretty cool meeting to be in on. I learned a lot. We have a motion, we have a second. Do you have a comment? Okay. We'll take a vote. Vote is unanimous, so moved. Congratulations.
And lastly, we have West Florida Regional Planning Council, primary Councilmember Overdeer, alternate Chatham Morgan.
Okay, so we need a motion for an alternate.
I'll do that unless someone new.
I'll make a recommendation, Ms. Ramswell.
Whoever I am.
Yeah, Dr.
I'll second that.
For clarity's sake, in the public record, is Dr. Ramswell will be the alternate. Seeing no further discussion, we'll take a vote at this time. Ayes have it, so moved. Congratulations.
That's all we have, sir.
All right, thank you very much. I reported we're going to take a break, but we'll take a break before the public hearings because I don't think the next two items will take very long. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 4D, another housekeeping matter, appointment of members to the citizen volunteer committees and boards. And Mr. Bailey will again be facilitating this.
By our city code, each council member is entitled to make one nomination to each committee, and the entire council votes to appoint those members. The term of each appointed member runs concurrently with the term of the nominating council member, and since 4 council members left the council, I created at least 4 vacancies in each of the committee, but the 4 new council members can nominate the representatives tonight. And if you're ready, the first committee is the Board of Adjustment. On this one, we have 4 vacancies, but unfortunately, there's only 1 applicant. So obviously, only one of the new council member can make the appointment tonight, but we'll continue to seek more volunteers for this.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to nominate Mr. David Emerson to the Board of Adjustment.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none? The rest of you council folks need to drum up some volunteers. Waiting on Kevin and Dr. Ramswell. Ayes have it, so moved. Go ahead, Ray.
The next one is the Parks and Recreation Committee. This one, we have 4 vacancies with 6 applicants, including 1 that submitted after we published the agenda. That's Leslie Smith, and I provided you a copy of her application form. So,
Ray, if you don't mind, what I'll do is I'll just look to each individual new council member and let them make a nomination. We'll handle it that way, so you don't have to read them all off.
Sure.
Okay? And we'll start down there with Kevin.
Probably not a shocker, but I'm going to nominate Leslie Schmidt to the Parks and Recreation Committee.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none? Ayes have it, so moved. Tell you, Mom, congratulations.
Do
Mr.
we
King.
have to vote on these each individually, or could we do all 4 at one time for the committee?
You could do an
as long
entire
as you're,
slate.
as long as you're unanimous.
Okay.
Yeah, you could do an entire slate if you guys want to. So if, for the next ones, if Teresa, Dewey, and Johnny want to say who their three are, and somebody wants to nominate that
As long as we
slate,
don't have any opposition.
as long as you don't have any opposition.
Which we're not gonna. We don't oppose,
Unlikely.
we don't oppose volunteers, especially ones that get appointed. Johnny,
I'd like to make a motion to reappoint Ms. Nikki Johnson to Park and Rec.
I got a
I
motion?
second that.
Okay. Teresa?
I make a recommendation to nominate Daniela Piper to Parks and Recreation.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Here's what we're going to do. Since we're just nominating the rest of this slate, we'll just have one motion from one council member at the end, which would then need to be seconded and voted on. So you're not going to get a motion as to each one. They're just nominations at this time.
Thank you, sir. That sounds so much more practical. Mr. Destin? Okay, so everybody's covered?
Motion to approve the slate?
I have a motion to approve the slate.
I second.
Well, I have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none? Ayes have it, so moved.
Harbor and Waterways Board, we have 4 vacancies with 3 applicants.
I'll start with you, Mr. Schmidt.
I keep on wanting to press this little green yes button to talk, but that's the.
It's the red one right here in front of you.
Can you come back to me, sir? Can we start on the other end, if you don't mind?
Ms. Abear said she's ready and prepared.
Mr. William McKissick.
Johnny?
Mr. Casey Jones.
And Mr. Destin. Okay.
Motion to approve the slate unless there's another
Nope.
space for
Kevin,
Mr.
are you
King?
gonna make one up? No?
That's what you get for starting on the other end when there's only 3 nominations there, huh? So-
Maybe that was his intent.
So, it's my fault.
You can have another cookie at break, okay? All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? Go ahead, take it to a vote. I'm gonna have one, so don't feel bad. Ayes have it, so moved.
So just to understand, I need to get somebody now, like, under my name for that one, right?
Yes, you're not personally responsible, but it would be nice.
We have the Harbor Community Redevelopment Agency Advisory Committee, 4 vacancies and 4 applicants.
I'm ready.
I was gonna start with Mr. Destin, just to give you a little extra time.
I fired up the light pretty quick on this one, so.
Go.
I'm not sure if his application came in or late or not, but Mr. Ian Blaze, he's a citizen here and a business owner and got his family here, so I'm nominating.
Sir, I did get some application for Mr. Blaze, but it was for the harbor capacity.
I got you. That's fine. Is an application required to be nominated?
It was for a harbor capacity steering committee, which is not in tonight's agenda.
Yes, sir. I understand. But I'm also like to appoint him on the Harbor Community Redevelopment Agency
Oh, I see,
Advisory
okay.
Committee.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Does he have to have an application on file for me to nominate him?
I can provide it later, but I did get it.
Okay.
He's got one already there, just under a different title, so go ahead and
That's my
nominate him.
Ian Blaze.
Ian Blaze, go ahead, Mr. King.
I don't currently have anyone.
Go ahead, Ms. Aber.
Miss Sandy Trammell.
And Mr. Destin. So we have 3. And that's all.
Motion to approve the slate?
We have a motion to approve the slate. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'll second.
I have a second. Seeing no further discussion?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Mr. King.
if nobody's gonna put Jim Green on there, I will.
I wish you would.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll nominate Jim Green.
Thank you.
Motion stands?
Second, Stan?
Second.
Okay. Seeing no further discussion? Keep. There we go. Ayes have it, so moved. Congratulations.
We're the local planning agency, 4 vacancies and 4 applicants.
I'll start with you, Mr. Destin, just to throw Mr. Smith a curveball.
Mr. Destin, could you press your button?
Yeah, since we have four, I will pick Jim Wood.
Ms. Aber,
Marcy Bell.
Mr. King,
Karen Drexler.
and Mr. Smith.
I'm holding off for now.
But we have 3 out of the 4 been nominated.
Motion to approve the slate?
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none? Ayes have it, so moved. Congratulations. And this is the last one coming up, Ray, or you got more? 2 more.
I got 2 more. Public Works, Public Safety, we have 4 vacancies with 5 applicants.
There you go. You got a smorgasbord to choose from. Mr. Smith.
I'll nominate Anthony Ramswell.
Okay, we got Anthony Ramswell. Go ahead, Mr. King.
Marcy Bell.
Got Marcy Bell. Teresa.
Richard Hickey.
Richard Hickey, and Mr. Destin.
Shirley Furman.
And Shirley Perman. I'll entertain a motion to accept the slate.
Motion to approve the slate?
Second.
Seeing no further discussion. Ayes have it, so moved. Congratulations.
Town Center CRA Advisory Committee, here we only have 1 current member. We have 6 vacancies with only 3 applicants.
You're on it.
Yeah, I'll nominate Lockwood Warnett.
I'll nominate Michael Sandsteed.
Michelle.
I'll nominate Michelle Sandsteed. Excuse me.
Mr. King.
I don't have anybody currently.
Mr. Smith.
I'm going to hold on for this one, too.
Mr. Destin.
We have 1 left.
Yes.
And that is Dolores.
All right.
Don't mind that one.
I'll entertain a motion, and we'll have to fill these other positions at a later time.
Motion to approve the slate?
Got it.
Second.
Motion to approve, and I have a second. Any further discussion? Take it to a vote. Ayes have it, so moved. Congratulations. Thank you, Ray.
That's it.
Mr. Mayor, item 4E is we need to replace the council fact-finding representative to Gulf Power for the new franchise agreement and the undergrounding of utilities.
I'd be interested in
Previously-
that unless someone else is.
I would be too, because
Well-
I've been involved with it,
And so would I.
and so would Mr. Destin, because
The,
his son has been on it.
We can all make our cases. I was on the original group along with the city manager, city attorney who negotiated the franchise 33 years ago now. Without the things we put in the franchise, such as the right to purchase and a number of other things we put in there, we wouldn't be in this position to negotiate anything at all today.
Well, I'll recommend Dewey Destin.
I have a motion.
And I'll second that.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that too, Dewey, because you and I are on the same page, so it
Don't you
doesn't
worry,
matter.
I will tap our former representative and make sure that he gets to work for free too.
There you go. There's always a blessing, Johnny. All right. We have a motion, we have a second to make Mr. Destin our representative for the undergrounding project. Seeing no further discussion, we'll take a vote. Ayes have it, so moved.
Finally, Mr. Mayor, we have a brief update on the fiscal year 2021 visioning session being presented tonight by Webb Warren.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. With the recent changes in the election cycle, we have proposed to move our visioning session to January of each year. That will give our new council members a little bit of chance to get their feet wet per se, and also be great timing for us to start working on our strategic plan for next year. Staff is proposing that Buzz Eddy will facilitate this session in January, and just if council has consensus on this tonight, we'd like for Mr. Eddy to reach out to council members over the next few days or early next week in order to start establishing basically priorities. You will have your opportunity to work with him if council approves to start communicating your thoughts and your ideas to him so that we can begin preparing for the upcoming visioning session in January. We're excited about this, and this is a critical component. The visioning session is as part of our strategic planning process. This is the opportunity for us to create our plan for next year where staff can, given council's direction, we can then start planning for the 2022 budget, which, believe it or not, that budget process starts in the April to May timeframe. So it's going to be here before we know it. So this is, again, a great process. The public will be invited to that visioning session in January, and just would like to get council's general consensus that that would be the route that we would like to move forward with.
It'd be early January or more towards the end?
It would be more toward the end, and we can send out some dates probably later in the week, near the end of January, and we can send out some dates for that council can let us know their availability on.
Mr. Braden.
Thank you. I don't believe we have in the past, but I would really like for the department heads to bring in their wish list or what they think their department needs, so we can kind of put that in there so we can work it into that budget. I don't think we.
I can't, from a staff's perspective, I think that's a fantastic idea. I think we'd welcome that opportunity and be part of that process. And we'd be happy to bring our needs list and ideas to that for discussion.
Thank you so much.
I agree, Mr. Braden, and not just for the budgetary concerns that we'll be doing in April, but just when you're talking about visioning and preparing what you want for projects to carry us into the next year, you got to know what they would like to. Yeah, I agree. So basically, they're looking for a consensus to let Mr. Edie to start the process. Everybody's nodding their head, so we do have a consensus here. So Lance, you and Webb, get that party started.
We'll make it happen. That's
Very
all I
much.
have.
Anything else?
That's all I have, sir. Thank
All right, we're going to take a 5-minute recess and then get started with a public hearing. staff members to come back to seats. I didn't think I left any cookies, so you guys don't have anything left to eat.
We have a box on each table.
Oh. All right. We'll go ahead and reconvene the meeting at this time. Up first, now we're entering into our public hearing portion. Kyle, you want to take it away?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have first 5A. This is the first reading of ordinance number 20-18-LC, an ordinance of the City of Destin, Florida, amending Article 3 definitions of the Land Development Code, amending Article 8 of the Land Development Code to prohibit motorized scooter rental businesses, offices, and other related land uses within the City of Destin, providing for findings of fact, providing for incorporation into the Land Development Code, providing for conflicting provisions, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. And this is a public hearing.
And seeing how this is a public hearing, I'll open up the public comment period of this hearing at this time. After that, I'll entertain a motion and we'll have debate, discussion, and take a vote. Is there anyone here that would like to come up and speak to ordinance 20-18-LC? And come on up, Ms. Bell. For the record, you still have to state your name and address, even though I know it by heart.
Marcy Bell, 3 Gulf Breeze Court. So this isn't specifically about this ordinance, but does it in reference to those little mini scooter things. I don't know. Have you seen them on Holiday Isle a couple of times? My question is where did they come from? Those little two-seater things that they run up and down Scenic Highway 98 are somehow ending up on Holiday Isle. That's a concern for me, and I just wanted to make a mention of it for the safety of those guys. Thanks.
I have a question, a concern for you just because they're here? Are they leaving them here or?
No, but they're driving up and down Holiday Isle, and where do they come from? How far have they come in one of those little two-seater? Are they on the back road all the way down? What's the speed limit on those guys? That's what I mean.
I would assume at this point they're private because we haven't had.
No, these are rentals.
Oh, they are.
They have the rental companies on.
Mr. Mayor, if I could interject at the LPA meeting when this came to us, that was specifically talked about. And what they mentioned, staff possibly, was that unfortunately we're not going to be able to stop the Walton County because they're probably coming from Scenic 98 and they're not in the City of Destin's jurisdiction. So you're right, and I think they're street legal though. I mean, they legally can come down 98. If you're talking about the two-seater scooters. So we won't be able to stop them, from my understanding, traveling down our highways. They just can't do business in the city with this.
Right, I know that's what's specific to this ordinance is about doing the business, but my point being is, how far are they traveling? Are they traveling from Walton County all the way down
I would say
Commons Drive, Highway 98 to get here? So, I don't know. Anyways, that's it.
No guts, no glory, right? I said no guts, no glory. Hey, honey, hold my beer and watch this. Yeah, it's probably not very well advised to drive one of those things down Highway 98. So, is there anyone else that would like to speak on this proposed ordinance? James, do you have anybody queued up? Make any comment?
No, sir, not at this time.
How about you, Ray? Any text message? Seeing no more further public comment, I am going to close that portion of this hearing, and I will entertain a motion at this time.
I'll make that motion, Mayor. I move that the City Council approves proposed ordinance 20-18-LC on first reading and direct the city clerk to advertise for a second reading.
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Any discussion, any of our council members at this time? Seeing none, let's go ahead and take this to a vote. Ray, could you set me up there on the screen? Sorry. All right. The vote is unanimous, so moved. Mr. Bowman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have next item 5B. This is the first reading of ordinance number 2031CN. An ordinance of the City of Destin, Florida, amending Article 7, General Provisions of the City Charter to create a new section prohibiting the conveyance, sale, lease, or other transfer of interest of city parks without a supermajority vote of the City Council, providing for a referendum on the charter amendment, providing for a ballot question, providing for a vote at the March 9, 2021 special election on whether to prohibit the conveyance, sale, lease, or other transfer of interests in city parks, subject to certain exceptions as provided in the charter, providing for coordination with the supervisor of elections, providing for coordination with supervisor of elections, providing for conflicts, severability, and an effective date. And this is a public hearing.
All right, thank you, sir. Seeing how this is a public hearing, I will open this portion of the hearing for public comments. Is there anyone in the room that has want to weigh in on the first reading of ordinance 20-31-CN? Do you have anybody, James? No one? Ray, any text message, emails, comments?
No, sir.
Seeing none, I'm going to close the public comment portion of the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion? You had to second that? Dr. Ramsell, thank you. And I have a second. Is there any further comment? Seeing none. Vote is unanimous, so moved. Mr. Bowman.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. This next item is 5C, the first reading of ordinance number 2032CC, an ordinance of the City of Destin, Florida relating to parking fines, providing for authority, providing for findings of fact, providing for the amendment of Article 2 of Chapter 19.5 Parking Regulations, providing for incorporation into the Code of Ordinances, providing for conflicting provisions, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date, and this is a public hearing.
Thank you, sir. And I will open the public comment portion of the public hearing at this time. Is there anybody that would like to speak to this first reading of ordinance 20-31-CN at this time? Seeing no one in the audience? Any comments online?
No, sir.
Text message or email?
No, sir.
Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Move the
I'll
City
make the
Council
motion.
approve proposed changes, Code of Ordinance, Section 19.5-56, penalty for violations for non-payment from $30 to $100.
Second.
And I have a motion, I have a second. First up, Mr. Destin.
Thank you, Mayor. The only thing that concerns me about this, that's a pretty dramatic and draconian increase. Who is it that writes those parking tickets? Is it still the sheriff's department, or do we have code enforcement doing that?
Code enforcement will be doing it, and it will be progressive. They will start out with verbal warnings, written warnings, and then if needed, then they can go to this step.
The only thing that concerns me on the issue is where you can park and where you can't. Seems pretty confusing in Destin right now. As a general rule, I think parking on the right-of-way is allowed unless prohibited. We've got no parking signs all around the school, but every time we have a school function, people park all over that, and we don't write tickets. If someone decides they should write tickets and start passing out $100 fines, it just seems too much to me. So I'll offer, what are we at now, 30? I'll offer a substitute motion that we raise it to 50.
So I have a substitute motion. Is that okay with the second? Or, I mean, with the substitute motion, I just need a second.
That's correct.
I have a second.
I'll second it.
We have a second for discussion.
Okay. I think that the whole thing came out of the short-term rental task force, and the deal was that people weren't paying attention to the $30 fines on the short-term rentals. And so we're trying to get their attention, and we figure maybe $100 will get their attention. I know $30 would get my attention, but I mean, for sure $100 will get their attention. I don't know if, I mean, we could certainly try it at 50, and I'd be willing to try that. And then if that doesn't work, then we've always got 100 that we can go to.
That sounds like a decent compromise. But let me ask another question. When you don't pay the fine, if it were issued by the sheriff's department, they'll come looking for you. When code enforcement issues one and somebody just ignores it, what do we do then? Does it go against the property? How does it work?
Would you all like me to answer that question?
Yep.
Yes, please.
So if they don't pay a citation, then we have to go through the court to actually try to get it paid. When we go through the notice of violation process, that's when we can put the lien on the property ultimately by going through the special magistrate hearing process.
Microphone, Dewey.
So we would put a lien on the property where the illegal parking took place, is that correct?
No, so we do not go through that process with citations. For citations, we would have to go through the court to try to get them paid if they're ignored. We would only go through a process where a lien could be placed on their land if that was a notice of violation and code compliance hearing before the special magistrate, which is an entirely different process than the citation. So the citation would never result in a lien on their real property.
Okay, well, it seems to me we have a problem. We can make it $1,000 if they don't have to pay it, but I would welcome Councilman Overdyer's willing to compromise. Let's start at 50. If it doesn't work, we can go up, but we need to figure some way to make it have some teeth in it because, you know, I'm afraid people just take them and pitch them.
Yeah, and it's a big problem. I think this ordinance was really, like Mr. Overdare said, focused a little bit over in our community over there in Crystal Beach. Mr. Schmidt, I had you up, and then Johnny.
Yes, sir.
No, Johnny, you're next.
Yeah, I just was curious, and I had this conversation with some of the other days. How do you determine the severity of a parking violation? Is it who puts the most heat on you, or, you know?
Our code compliant officers usually start out in the warning process. They have, if you ever look at the, and I think even the sheriff's department does, you look at their warnings versus their actual citations they write, it's like 5-1. So if you're to the point where our code guys are writing you a citation for parking, you probably not the first time you've been there. So I think that's usually how it plays out. Would you agree with that? Is Joey here? He's not here.
Joey's not here tonight, but I would offer this, that if we maybe modified it one more time to not to exceed $100, where we could ratchet it up. That way, it could start at a reasonable rate and then work its way up to 100.
Then we get into the subjective, whose idea of reasonable.
One thing you could do is you could put in a first offense, second offense, and third or more offense cost, so that it would take away the subjective element. And another thing, and Joey's not here tonight, but another thing that Joey and I had discussed was putting into place the process where if you receive more than, say, 3 parking citations, at that point, a notice of violation would be issued and you could go through the special magistrate process. And there would be due process there, but ultimately that's where, if we switched over from citation to the notice of violation, you could have a lien ultimately placed on your property, but that would be after multiple violations.
I like that progression the best out of all the options. But we have a couple other people that'd like to chat first, and then maybe we can entertain. Well, we can probably just vote on the substitute motion, and then if it passes, we'll live with it. If it fails, then we can look at another motion.
Well, I would suggest if you have other council members that wanted to weigh in, you'd allow the other council members. Kevin, I think, did you have something you wanted to?
Yes, I got Kevin, Johnny, and Mr. Braden.
That was going to be my main point that Lance brought up, was that the writing of the ordinance does say to $100. So first point was going to be that we should clear that up to $100 if that was the direction that we were hoping to go, because that's not what it says. But on top of that, the scaling factor would be a recommendation at some point whenever we vote down the motion or whatever, to do the 3 to 4 offenses where it goes from 50, 75, 100, then a notice of violation or something like that. One way or another, I would think we should adjust it for sure.
The whole reason this ordinance is being developed and considered is we have a problem and we're trying to deal with it. Mr. King.
Wait, I have a question for Mr. Schmidt. So based on what you're proposing, would we then do away with the warnings?
I don't think you get away with the warnings, because if the general idea is to go to the short-term rental market in the area who are making the majority of these violations, unfortunately, a lot of them, although they should know not to park in certain places, some of the right-of-ways are possibly not as known, so I think it'd be unfair to stick a $50 citation on their window, and they're going to be gone 2 to 7 days later anyways, and we probably will not see that ever be paid. So I would still do a warning, because the warning will help us do the locals that are down over at Destin Elementary and those streets and parking in a spot that says no parking. So the warning would still be beneficial for a lot of those people as well, that unfortunately there's not enough parking at the elementary schools. So I mean, I've done it. I park where it says no parking, I mean, you got to run in there to your kid's kindergarten meeting and you got to get in there, There's nothing else to do. So, but yeah, I would keep the warnings.
Mr. King?
Yeah, I was just going to ask the same, kind of a similar, along the same lines. Are we enforcing these? Are we, like, if you're in town for a week and you never plan on coming back to Destin again, are we sending these people to collections, or? That's all I've got.
Yeah, like I said, the whole purpose of this ordinance is put some teeth in a problem that we have, in some way to enforce it over time. And that's the whole gist behind that. Mr. Braden?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, my thought is, I mean, we got people out there just, giving our code enforcement guys the finger, for the parking, and, the only way to get somebody's attention is get in their pocket. And Kim, is it a different parking ticket? Because I thought that when a parking ticket was written, it was actually sent to the sheriff's department and it was attached to their tag? Or is that something else? Can't hear you.
Unmute, Kim.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear.
Okay, yeah, that's the way it goes. And then when we try to collect, we go through the clerk of court, as I understand it from staff. Yeah.
So if we write a parking ticket and they don't pay it, it's attached to their tag, and if they get pulled over somewhere for speeding, it's...
No, I don't believe that's the case, because it's not a moving violation. It's just a parking ticket. I can verify that I'm correct at the next meeting, but I don't believe that if they get pulled over, they would necessarily have any of their parking tickets show. I'm really not sure. I can get back to you on that.
Mr. Braden?
The parking citations do go through the sheriff's office. They're turned over to the clerk's office. If they're not paid, they are forwarded to a debt collection agency from there. There is no, since it's not a moving violation, there's no way of it showing up to be able to do anything when you make a traffic stop on them. It will show up in the system that they were issued a parking citation, but there's no way for us to take any action on them on a traffic stop.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, Dr. Ramswell, I have you up. Are you good?
So how does this fit in with towing? Because I know we've discussed in the past having a roving tow truck. How do these two fit together? Are we not doing the towing of cars, or are we?
We are doing the towing of cars where there is a sign that authorizes the towing of cars, but the citation for parking can be done anywhere.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so here we are. We had a motion, then we had a substitute motion to, Ray, you want to read it, the substitute motion, just so I'm correct here?
Why don't you give me an opportunity to modify that substitute? Maybe
I
we can go
will
forward.
gladly do so, sir.
We'll do that. We're going to incorporate the staggered amounts that we all thought was probably a good idea into that substitute. So we will go with, of course, they can still have the option to do a warning, and then we'll go
50, 75, 100?
sounds good.
All right, there you got it, Ray?
If my second will agree to that, then
If
we'll
the
go
second
forward.
will agree.
I agree. Second.
That wasn't me, but do we need to add the what happens after the 100 part to this motion?
I
Or
don't
is that-
think at this point we can.
No, I think it's really up to the court, or can you, in the ordinance, does it specify that if it's your third violation after that, we're going to do notice of violation, Kim, or you
We can put
mentioned?
that into the ordinance. This is going to come back for another first reading anyway due to the changes. So if you want to put that in as well, we can. It's going to be re-advertised regardless.
All right, Mr. Desmond, would you like to include that? After 3 strikes, you're out. We're going to put a lien on your property?
Well, so just to be clear, it's not actually going to put a lien on the property. If a notice of violation is issued, at that point, Florida statutes take over that process. There's some due process that would go to the violator. They'd have to have a public hearing before the special magistrate, be put through that process. But ultimately, once they go through that process, if they don't pay the fines, then the city could put a lien on it. I just wanted to be clear.
And according to the sheriff's office, the sheriff's office has they just pass it on to a collection agency. They don't go to the depths that we're talking here. Could we do the same thing instead of the public hearing and all that? Is that allowable under Florida statute for a municipality? Is once you get that 3rd strike, after that, and you haven't paid, we're just going to turn it over to a collection agency, or do you recommend we go the other route?
It's going to go that route with the sheriff anyway, so adding our route with the notice of violation gives us additional teeth. So if you want to give it additional teeth, I think it is advisable to put in after the 3rd time, we can go through that route.
Well, I'm the motion maker to see if he wants to add that or not, because
Well, at this point, since this is first reading, I'd like to give Ms. Kopp the opportunity to look at this issue with a little more detail and bring it back to us. So I would just leave it at the graduated fines and
all right,
what's in the motion.
Okay, Kim, right now, we're just going to look at the graduated fine thing in the ordinance, bring it back for another first reading. So I have a motion, I have a second. Seeing no further discussion, let's go ahead and take a vote. Ayes have it. The vote is unanimous, so moved, and we'll bring this back for another first reading.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to clarify that with the land use attorney if we're going back to first reading, because it doesn't
Yes.
affect.
Yeah,
it
we
doesn't-
we made too many changes.
Okay, because it doesn't affect the title at all, so,
We are going to go back to first reading, right? These are substantial changes.
okay. Even though it
Ray.
doesn't affect the title?
Yep.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Kim. Mr. Bowman.
Next up is item 5D. This is a quasi-judicial hearing. This is the Oaks at Old Town Major Development Order DO 2104 and Major Subdivision 1919 SP and 2031 MS. The applicant is requesting a major development order and major subdivision plat approval. Project is located at 140 Seibert Avenue. Property is 1.59 acres and will consist of 19 long-term residential townhome units with a common pool along with associated infrastructure and platting. This time, if I could get any of the applicant's team who plans on testifying to stand up and raise their right hand, as well as any city staff members who plan on testifying, raise their right hand. And any members of the public who plan on testifying to stand up and raise their right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth? All right, thank you very much. At this time, council, have any of you guys had any ex parte communications on this matter? Seeing none, I will go ahead and turn this over to Ms. Kopp.
This will be presented by staff, Mr. Zanguzzi, who I believe is in the room.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. As city attorney stated, we have a project before you, the Oaks. It is a major development and a major subdivision located in ROI VR. Upon the finish of the technical review, upon completion of the technical review, staff has determined that the applications meet or exceed the requirements of the Land Development Code for major developments and a major subdivision. And with that, I will open it up for questions.
Any council members have any questions?
I just had one question. I noticed, when I went down there and looked at it, it's like just south of the library. There's a house there, I guess, next to the library, and then there's this, I guess, this wooded parcel there, which I guess is your property. And then next to that, on the south side of that, is then another property, for lack of a better word, another house. Is the development going to be for that whole property? In other words, those structures will be taken down and all be rebuilt, or is your development going to be in the middle of those two properties?
Excuse me, sir, could you press the red button?
Mr. Shepherd, press the red button, give your name, address.
Tim Shepherd, 72 Indian Bayou Drive. I'm a authorized agent for the owner of the property. The parcel that we're proposing to develop is, I believe there's actually two parcels between it and the library. And if you look on the public record at the aerial maps, it does show there's some dilapidated buildings on there, but this owner bought the property in March of 2019. There were no dilapidated buildings on there at that time, and there hasn't been any clearing or anything removed, so it is a vacant property right now.
Just south of the library, there is a structure.
Yeah, but that property is not part of the that property is not, yeah, that property is not part of the proposed development.
On the other side of the property, the south side of it, stays as well.
Yeah, that's not part of the development. Yes, sir.
Mr. Destin?
Thank you, Mayor. Staff assures us that this meets the code, and it appears that it does. But this goes back to the problem we were discussing earlier during the public testimony. We're putting right at the very top 12 units on an acre. This is going to be 19 on an acre and a half. If you look around there, you won't see anything that's that dense. If we continue to do these things, we're going to just completely run our capacities to have roads and all the other infrastructures. And in addition to that, the other problem is we're still laboring under the multimodal transportation. So this project provides, I think, 2 parking spaces per unit. And I don't know how many bedrooms, how many bedrooms, as Ms. Renswell asked last time, do these units contain? Is there a rule, they're the same, they're different? Okay, so.
Can you come to the mic?
Yeah.
Ross Binkley, address is 434 Benning Drive, Destin. I'm the engineer of record, and there are 3 bedroom units proposed.
There are. So if they are used like they may well be used and rented like they probably will be in order to make money, parking's way short. And until we fix this, every project that we approve now is gonna make our problems bigger. So while it appears these folks meet the code, and it would be hard pressed to say no, we need to expeditiously get down to trying to fix these problems, and later in the meeting, I'll try to make a motion directing staff to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Destin. Mr. Braden, I had you and I bleeped you off the screen. You still want to comment?
Yes, thanks, sir. This would be for the staff. Is this, the parking issue, is this problem that we're having, does it lie in the LDC? Because you mentioned that this is in compliance with the LDC, but it's out of date, it's not in
Yes, it is an LDC issue, and if you recall, as part of my discussion about the update, that's one issue that we really must take a look at and address. In addition to the fact that we have now have a much more robust comprehensive plan as far as the density areas are concerned, we do need to revisit all the density calculations that we have in all those districts that are currently in the city. And so that work is currently underway, and I'll be coming shortly by the start of the year with products for you to consider.
I mean, I guess, I don't know if we should have had to put a moratorium on developments or something so we can get the comp plan and LDC up to speed. I know we got the comp plan approved, and I was harping on it that, hoping we get the LDC, work on that and get that up to speed, but everybody kept saying, no, we couldn't even touch it till the comp plan was approved and passed and all that, and now we're lagging behind on that, maybe not lagging behind, but anyway, yeah, it just seems like, in a couple of months that there's no way, shape, form, or fashion that a project like this would even come close to being approved by the new LDC. But that's all I got, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Ramswell. And then I'm going to encourage the council, if they have any direct questions to the developers themselves about this plan, that this will be the time to do it as well. Go ahead, Dr. Ramswell.
Thank you, Mayor. Staff, could you address compatibility and how this project blends in with the surrounding lots? Because looking at an overview of an aerial of surrounding properties, as Mr. Destin brought up, it looks completely out of sorts.
Yes, the issue of compatibility does not apply in this case because it is a permitted use and meets the requirements that are currently in our code today. That is in contrast to the project that you looked at last time, which had a requirement for you to look at compatibility because it was a conditional use. This is not one, and therefore it's different.
Understood. Thank you.
I believe there's townhomes to the south there in 2 or 3 different locations on that same side of the road already. And
But that many?
I don't, no,
No.
they're smaller. That whole area though, there's quite a few properties that are, sorry, disrepair or situations. So, we're almost handcuffed to source of what Mr. Destin brought up. Kim, do you have any comments to make as far as compatibility and or the process in following the LDC at this point?
I think Mr. Zinguzzi explained the analysis that staff used, and it is the applicant's burden to establish that for the council, though not staff. So if you have questions and the applicant is present, they may want to address that as well.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Ms. Abear, and then Kevin, I have you next.
I see that you have reforestation for trees required 16, and replacement trees 32. What kind of trees are you removing and bringing in?
Yeah, it might be a good job for you to come up and show us these drawings, please. That's all right. Describe it. We'll close our eyes.
Let's see the demo plan. I mean, we're taking out quite a few trees. And we have the sizes indicated on the demo plan. There was nothing. The landscaping plan? No, that's all right. See, I have notes on the plan, in the plan. I'm given the option.
I've driven by the property too, and it just looks like there's a lot of those popcorn kind of trees up in there, which are
Right.
not like, the preserve type trees, but I was just curious. It said you're gonna put replacement trees in of 32. I was just curious what type of trees you were gonna be putting into the landscape.
Yeah, I'm not identifying the tree, the species that's required to be, that were proposed to be planted, but I am referencing the code that there are.
If staff may interject.
Bail you out. Go ahead, ma'am.
For clarity, our code requirements are to establish a 2.5 diameter non-invasive tree species. So 32 2.5 diameter, non-invasive species are required, being live oak, crepe myrtle, crepe myrtle is one, but mainly magnolia, live oak, things of that nature are permitted, no invasives at a 2.5 diameter.
Would you like to hold up the plat drawing anyways, just for us to take a look?
And just so we're clear, the applicant's still going to have an opportunity to make his presentation. We're still technically in staff's presentation right now, so.
I don't really have much to add to the presentation. I can show you the drawings. I thought they might be on the screen.
Is there going to be enough room for vehicles to park in that driveway and not block a sidewalk?
In the road?
No, if there's vehicles parked in the driveway.
Oh, in the driveway, yes. Well, the driveway depth is a parking space depth. The staff requires that the driveway meet. There's also parking, there are garages too, so there'll be.
Where would the sidewalk be?
The sidewalk is along the edge of the road on both sides. So the depth of the driveway does not include the sidewalk.
Any other questions?
I've got a.
Go ahead, Mr. King.
I can't tell from here, is it tandem parking in line with the garage?
Yes. One space in the garage and one space in the driveway.
Okay. And are these, and I may have missed this, but is the developer planning to keep these or sell them to individuals or?
Sell them. Okay. He's going to sell them.
Also had, Kevin, did you have a question? Go ahead.
Just some education, if y'all don't mind helping me. The multimodal transportation that Mr. Destler was talking about, the 2-car requirement, I think that's what you were saying. So does that mean that you can only have 2 cars at one of these parcels, one of these properties? And if so, what happens when you have more than 2 cars?
It sets a maximum amount of parking that you can have rather than a minimum. And because we were going into the multimodal transportation element, we reduced the parking at that time so that we could force people into the public parking structures that we never built. And so we're snowballing. And tandem parking the code allows for tandem parking. I was told down on the harbor that we were not allowed to have tandem parking.
So I guess what happens at these properties if there's more than 2 cars? Is that an okay question to ask? Are they only allowed to have 2 cars per townhome?
From a residential single-family development, then yes, it's one space. That's why you have the 2.5. To answer Mr. Destin's response or question regarding the tandem parking down along the harbor, that's a commercial district. So when you're factoring in commercial uses, tandem parking is not permitted currently under our current LDC. But with single-family, 2 is the typical parking ratio that you have. Then again, we have another parking requirement for short-term rentals. So whenever short-term rentals come online, it's that 1 space per bedroom. So then we review those types of properties for that requirement. But when a single-family or a multifamily project comes online, the standard minimum is 2 spaces.
So what's the maximum?
The maximum would be, I guess, whatever the site can handle with meeting, your common boundary buffer, in addition to your open space requirements and site design requirements. So
it wasn't a maximum of 2 cars then?
Correct.
I guess that was I was confused about. I was hearing that you could have a maximum of 2 cars on these properties.
It's a.
Yes, the code requires a maximum.
A what?
Per the MMTD.
It requires a maximum?
Yes.
Which-
MMTD requires a maximum and then we work from there.
Which is?
The maximum is determined based upon the project.
So what's the maximum amount of cars at this project?
I guess that's where Mr. Destin was trying to explain earlier, is that we have an MMTD standard currently. The MMTD it creates a maximum threshold. So essentially, MMTD is multimodal, right? So you're not wanting to encourage people to drive around the city. You want to encourage people to walk, bike, other modes of transportation. That said, under the MMTD requirement, you have to set that maximum threshold. Therefore, any development you don't want them to hit that max in relation to the MMTD, right? Because you want to encourage other forms of multimodal. Unfortunately, we're in a situation where we have an MMTD, but we don't have the correct or the proper multimodal to support what our element, essentially. So when you have developments that are within the multimodal, you always see that max. And then we obviously encourage the developer to go underneath the max because that's going against the MMTD. So it can be confusing.
So forgive me, please, but is there not a maximum on this development? Or am I just completely confused and struggling here understanding?
There's a maximum, excuse me, and I don't want to take your expertise away, but there's a maximum number of spaces that they can have. Not a maximum number of cars. You can buy 18 cars. I don't know where you're going to park them, but you can only have 2 spaces, and that's where our problem is. The old system, we had a minimum amount of parking that you had to provide depending on a number of formulas. And if we can't build the garages and put in the shuttles and put all the other elements of multimodal in that make the whole system work, then to go forward with multimodal parking requirements is a really bad idea.
And that's not their fault because they're
Yeah,
following the rules
Correct.
by providing
Exactly.
2 parking spaces, which is their maximum.
That's
And
exactly
I
right.
just had one other question on that point when I was requesting there. The other one is over the past 4 years with the comp plan being adjusted or LDC being the adjustment over the past council, was there changes to the density whenever the comp plans were adjusted over the past 4 years? They were lowered?
We've lowered the density, I believe.
So it was lowered quite a bit?
So we did lower in the comp plan, but we need to then lower that in the LDC. And that's the work we're about to undertake now.
All right?
Thank you.
So this is the staff end of it. Do you have a formal presentation that you would like to make, or you're pretty much?
Can if you'd like me to, but I don't have anything prepared, but I could
Oh,
go
okay.
through the
No,
project.
that's all right. I don't want to put you on the spot.
No, that's fine. I could go through it.
Mayor, just so you know, we do in our packet, and
That's what I thought.
ironically, I found it, it's on page 227. It is the plan.
Yes.
The next page also has the trees, what's coming out and what's going in, and
Okay.
then the last page is the overview of where those spots are, which I was trying to figure out, if you've got 12 units but 38 parking spaces, you got
Okay.
2 per unit, then you got your parking for guests. So
Yeah, and I could just show you too, the site data table over here, if you have a site plan, it explains that the parking requirement was 2.5 spaces per unit required, but with the MMTD, it was a 20% reduction. So you can see it right there. That's why we end up with 2. That's what it says. That was the rule.
Well, that's what I was trying to say, is
Right.
you're following the rules, so there's nothing you haven't done incorrectly. So this is on us to fix ASAP.
We can't do that tonight, unfortunately. We have other decision to make. All right, so where do we go now, Kyle?
If the applicant's done, staff's done, which sounds like both are, we just need public comment, public testimony if there's no other questions for staff or the applicant at this time.
Mr. Braden?
Are these 2-story or 3-story?
It says 2-story in our
And
packet.
they're 25 feet wide and 48 feet long? That's a 3 bedroom?
48, yeah.
It's 3-bedroom, tiny.
Pretty small.
To Steve's comment.
It's Kevin
I'm
Schmidt.
Sorry. I've been saying that since the time you were running.
That's
yeah, we've had-
permissible. That's
we had-
permissible when it's almost 9. Go ahead, sir.
We've had businesses downtown Destin that was developed and had to take away parking because they had too much. So we do have, because of this multimodal thing, yeah, we have a parking problem in Destin, but they had too many and they had to take some away before they get their CO. So that's a big issue. So we got to get on it.
I think we're done with this guy, though. I mean, he's,
All right.
I'm
You can
coming
have a
up next,
seat,
too.
and
I
I'm
got
going to
another
open
one.
up the public hearing portion of it, and then we'll entertain a motion, and we'll go from there, all right? And in the course of our motion, if there's any further discussion or any questions, we can always invite our folks back up here to make any comments. So,
You want me to make the motion, Mayor?
not yet, I got to do it's a public hearing, so let me open up the public hearing portion of this proceeding. Is there anyone that want to make any comments to this particular development? Do you have anybody, James?
No, sir.
Nope. Ray? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion at this time, and we can have any further discussion thereafter, or hopefully we can go to a vote.
I'll make that motion, Mayor. I move City Council approve with conditions, the Oaks at Old Town, a major development order and major subdivision.
Just to clarify, I think you're intending to approve unless you have particular conditions you want to apply.
Just approve, yeah. No
Okay.
conditions on this.
No, you're not asking for any conditions?
Correct.
Okay.
All right, I got a motion. Do I have a second?
Well, I'll give it a second just for discussion.
All right, thank you very much. Now, we've had quite a bit of discussion, but I will open it up at this time before we vote for any further comments or discussions. Seeing none, we will go to a vote. Six one, ayes have it, so moved. Mr. Bellman. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next, we have another quasi-judicial hearing. This is item 5E, the Summerfell Major Development Order DO 2105 and Major Subdivision 2011 SP and 2030 MS. Blue Developments LLC is requesting a planned unit development and major subdivision plat approval. The project is located at the southeastern corner of the Legion Drive and Benning intersection. The property is approximately 1.65 acres and will consist of 3 single-family and 8 long-term residential duplex units, along with the associated infrastructure and platting. And again, if I could have any member of the applicant's team, any member of city staff, and any member of the public who wishes to make public testimony, please stand and raise your right hand. Tracy, are you? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide is the truth? All right, thank you very much. And City Council, have you guys had any ex parte communications on this matter? Seeing none, Ms. Kopp, I'll turn it over to you again.
Okay, first I'd just like to enter the agenda item and staff report into the record in its entirety as Exhibit A, and then I will turn this over to staff to introduce.
Applicant, you have no objection to the staff report being entered into the record? Seeing none, the staff report is in the record.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. As our city attorney said, we have another project here before you. Blue Development is requesting a planned unit development and major subdivision plat approval. This project is split zoned, so you have part of the parcel located in LDR, and you have another part of the parcel located in MDRV. In addition, the applicant is requesting a PUD deviation to allow the existing 4-foot sidewalk along Legion to remain. Currently, staff's comment is there is a complete 4-foot pedestrian network currently in that location. Therefore, the request does not pose any negative risk to public health or safety. In addition, the applicant is providing the 10-foot sidewalk requirement along Benning per the MMTD standards. And with that, I will, upon the technical review, staff has determined that this project also and applications meet or exceed the minimum requirements of the Land Development Code. And with that, I will open it up for discussion.
All right, this is the staff presentation portion of it, so I will look to the council members. Do you have any questions and or comments to staff on this particular project?
This project, oh,
Go ahead, ma'am. Go ahead, Dr. Ramswell.
So this project was going to be partially located where if we had gone forward with the 4-lane connector, it would have cut it off. Is that correct? That this was essentially saved by us not going forward with the 4-lane?
That is correct.
Okay.
Mr. Destin.
This is a planned unit development for those of us that are new. Can you explain to us what the difference is? Planned unit developments, I think, get to waiver or get variances on a number of development requirements, one of them being the sidewalk that you're referring to.
Yes, council member. Planned unit development are typically based on about 3 major criteria. One, public safety. If a standard is seen to be counterproductive to public safety, that's a reason to deviate from it. The other issue that you take a look at is environmental concerns. There might be, in that particular area, say that sensitive areas could be wetlands or things of that nature. That will be up for consideration. And then the last aspect is flexibility in terms of design, mix of uses that comes into play. So typically those are the 3 major issues that you use in plan development review process.
So they're asking for a waiver on the sidewalk from what would be required is what, 10 feet?
Correct.
Down to 4 feet that's there, and which seems reasonable. However, if any of the people along that road redeveloped, rebuilt, tore down their house and put a new one in, what sidewalk would they have to put in?
The prevailing conditions at that time when that work is undertaken.
So is that a 10-foot or a 4-foot?
So they have to do it today, it'll be 10 feet wide.
Okay, which seems a little unfair, but putting a 10-foot in where the 4-foot are doesn't make a lot of sense either. So it's one of those conundrums, I guess.
That might be something when, as we go through our visioning for our city, we
There
can
we go.
require a 10-foot for everybody after the fact or do it ourselves, so. Because I'd like to see a lot wider sidewalks in other areas of the community as well, so. Yeah, it would look a little out of sorts.
Hey, we live so long.
Yes. Just keep drinking water.
That's all I had, thanks.
All right, Mr. Schmidt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm trying to look at these designs, and I'm not sure if the gentleman, you're doing this one as well, but is this the time to ask the question, like, what is in front of the duplexes on this parcel? Like, on the design, it looks just like a big empty space. Are those future duplexes going to be built, or am I just not understanding how to read? I'm not an architect, so.
In front of the duplexes.
Just,
There's
parallel
driveways.
You have 3 single home families, and you have 4 sets of duplexes.
Right.
And then it says 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 0.15 acres on each one of those things. Is that just green space?
Are you referring to
No,
all
the
front
top.
of the building? Oh, this to the
All
rear?
that, yeah, that
We're
whole
leaving that
section.
alone. We're only clearing to put in the sewer services to these
So that they're just,
units.
the trees are just staying trees.
It's going to stay vacant, that's right.
So could that be developed in the future on this
Well,
particular
not-
property, or is that a separate development order?
Well, this is being platted, so once this plat is created, then this lot, I don't believe, can be further developed.
So I guess
at that point.
staff, could they develop more duplexes across from the 4 duplexes? Like, how would they go do that if they wanted to?
I mean, I can't speak to any hypothetical until we see a plan. I don't know how to answer that question.
I guess not the hypothetical, I guess just from me not understanding the procedural of this process since I'm so new still, but we have a development order right now to build 3 single families and 4 sets of duplexes on that parcel. If a year from now they wanted to build 4 more, what's the process for them to build 4 more? I guess would that be a better question?
Yeah, well, first of all, they'll to amend the current plan, and then we have to look at access issues and a whole range of things need to be considered.
So they would come back to us with maybe not a year from now, maybe 6 years from now, he wants to clear those trees and put 4 more duplexes over there. How does that work? I mean, is it,
Well, whatever timeline there is, we have to go through the entire review process, correct? Correct.
I just want to make a comment on that, is that one thing is, this property, we did not fully utilize the density allowed in this plan. On the portion where we're putting the duplexes, that actually, if we would have wanted, by the code, if we'd have wanted to got, different orientation, figured those, we could have got 2 more units. So, we voluntarily dropped the 2 units because it just didn't make sense. I mean, this gives a nice, these are smaller townhomes, they're about 1,550 square foot, gives a nice product. The answer to your question on what if we want to build 4 more duplexes, well, the density doesn't allow that. But the density would only allow 2 more units at the current density. But then secondly, once this is platted, once this plat's approved, there is no access to this property on the back side. And the access point to get in from the other side actually falls another 40 or 50 foot to the south of this property. And, to kind of expand on a point, only the southern 59 foot of this property, really probably the southern 29 foot, was rescued by moving from a 4 lane. But really, that didn't have anything to do with it because we'd already worked with the engineers and they had a big retention slated there, and they were able to reduce the size of the retention even with the 4 lanes. So
that makes sense. And now that because I don't know how to read these very well and I'm starting to learn, now I see that you couldn't even get back there.
That's right.
So I guess that
I was going to bring that up.
But I appreciate from Main Street and the street. I got you. I'm just trying to, one of the goals that I want to do by serving this community is not to be able to vote for something that I want to make sure I understand that 5 years from now, you couldn't come put 2 more duplexes based upon what we're voting on tonight. I just kind of want to cover myself for that, basically.
I'd also make a point legally, too. I believe once this is platted in this configuration, and Mr. Shepherd sells any of these lots, they're going to be lots, he sells any of them, in order to amend the plat, he would have to go back, all these owners would have to sign off on it, and it would come back through the city. I mean, it's not an easy process.
Mr. Destin.
I just had one more question, and that'll be for the land use attorney. When you go through the PUD process, it's kind of like, let's make a deal. You waive a lot of the requirements so that the city gets something in return. Is it possible, Ms. Kopp, that in return for the PUD process that we are going through and giving the variances on, that we could ask that no further construction on this site be part of the PUD negotiation?
Yes,
Do you have any
you can put
objection?
that on.
No objection? Okay, well then we'll put that in the caveat as we approve. So I'll make a motion to approve this project with that stipulation.
Second.
All right, I got a motion and a second. I got a couple more folks lined up, so don't go away. Ms. Abear, and then Mr. King.
Thank you, Mayor. I noticed in your notes here, it says no site lighting is proposed. We've been talking about lighting and how dangerous it is in some of the areas of Destin. We definitely need to get Gulf Power back in line. So what exactly does that mean? You've got this little area that you're not going to put any sort of street lights that light up your property?
Well, we're not proposing any streets, so that's usually when site lighting is required by the city, when we're putting in a new street. So I'm not sure. I mean, I live on Benning. I know there's a street light right outside my bedroom window.
Right outside
for sure.
the one on Main, right? I mean, I'm
So
just, at the property itself, I mean, you're going to have like internal posts that, light up.
There are.
I didn't see any pegged in the drawing.
On the utility plan, no, I'm sorry. There you go. On the landscape plan, the city does have requirements for trees and pedestrian scaled lighting along the sidewalk. So we're showing that on Benning. That's the only lighting we're proposing. But as far as street lights, we're not proposing anything on Benning or Legion.
You good?
I'm good.
Sorry, Teresa, I thought you were done. Lastly, Ms. Ramswell.
Thank you. So just a question, in looking at the map and the plat, is there not an ingress egress on that southern border of the property and another one coming off Anna? So it's possible then in the future that that could be used as an access road?
I think that's further south. I think what you're talking, the right-of-way? Yes, it's further south. There's a piece of vacant property here between us and that right-of-way.
Let me just add, so if you look at, I don't have a map with me, but Anna comes in off Beach Drive and comes back down to the townhomes, kind of due west, and then it turns back to the north. I've had extensive conversations with Joe Bodie on the status of Anna Street, and Anna Street is a public street until it basically turns back north, and then it becomes private with those townhomes. So the public part is the east-west portion, and it terminates about 30 feet south of this property. I mean, one of the things that I really evaluated here was if I could have gotten an access in from Anna. If we could have gotten access, we'd probably have a couple more townhomes here because it would have made and maybe some of the other ones would have accessed differently because it would have made it easier. But there is no other access to this property.
I was just curious because looking at the county property appraiser's area, it appears as if there is over off Anna a dirt road to the west of the existing roadway that extends all the way until it connects over in here, but it looks like there's a building right across the property lines that extends up to Legion. So anyway, I'm just looking at that in terms of the potential for future development.
You're talking about the building coming off of Legion from the first house to the east?
To your east, yes, there's
That's an encroachment?
Yes.
That's an encroachment from that house?
Yep.
And what you're seeing is kind of some parallax error from the satellite imagery. It's not absolutely perpendicular. So that aerial doesn't accurately represent where the property line is anyway.
But if it's encroached, then this line, I mean, we don't need
It's
to,
not
that's not relevant to this.
Yeah.
But the point being, it does look like in the future,
Right.
you could possibly be able.
Well, if you look, I think I have an accurate line here of where the Anna Street right-of-way ends, and there's a gap. I don't think we can get there from here. I don't think we can get onto Anna Street.
But you don't plan to build at this time on the north, or the eastern portion there of your lots, correct? So you could use that portion as a driveway.
We could, no, there is no access from there onto the property. That's a private, everything that adjacent to us is a private road. It belongs to those townhomes. If you look at those townhomes to the east, they were planted in a couple of different stages. The ones to the north,
Yeah, come to my first.
the townhomes to the north, their roadway, their ingress egress, it's on the plat. It's private, and again, I had a conversation with Joe Bodie. That is not legal access to the property I own. The portion of Anna that runs east to west, that is a city road. But unfortunately, as his drawings show, it terminates, 30 feet, 100 feet, something south of my property. It does not connect. There is no, this is something that we investigated ad nauseum because we look at different things and it was kind of conflicting. But when you get the deeds, you get the plat, it does not, it absolutely, from the surveyors, it does not connect.
And we're going to make we have a motion and a second. We're going to vote on what's being presented as drawn.
And we've agreed not to develop that portion.
There you go.
Anyway, so.
We're good.
Yeah. all right.
We're good. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All
Couple
right,
couple
go ahead.
things, Gary. Yeah, I just want to note for the record that the applicant is agreeable to the condition that has been proposed at this time as part of this recommended motion, or part of this motion for Mr. Destin. Second, I just want to ensure that there's nothing further from the applicant or staff at this time. You guys all good? You want to make a presentation? Go ahead.
I mean, I know we're doing this as a plan unit development, and the only variance we are asking for is the Legion sidewalk widening, and I want you to understand, we're not trying to get away with anything. The way the code is written, the sidewalk width and the road widths and all this, right-of-way widths are dictated by the classification of the road. And Legion it has a certain classification. You go to the table in the code, it says the minimum right-of-way it's over 70 feet wide. Legion is a 50-foot right-of-way. Okay, so Legion is substandard according to your own code. So in order to put a 10-foot sidewalk in there, I think we may have barely enough room, and it would be right off the back of curb, and we would have no stormwater. Okay, so we were kind of in a catch-20 in a pickle. That's right. So this is why plus it really, it would make sense to have this section of 10 feet and then the rest of Legion 4. I mean, so I just wanted you to understand that. We're not trying to pull anything over.
I understand it, and I think that it's a good concession. If we wanted to give you a hard time, we would say no on that, and you would indeed be in a
I know, but you're about to vote,
That's it. So we're not doing that. All we're asking is,
my case.
you guys have agreed that we're not going to put any other units on there, and that's good enough.
Yes, sir.
All right. We have a motion. We have a second.
We need public comment testimony real quick.
I thought I already did that. I didn't.
Let's just open it up again just to be sure. I don't recall.
I did.
So, did you?
Did I? Right, I asked you, right, if you had anybody queued up? No?
We don't
All
have
right.
anybody at this time.
We'll reset. It's late. This is a public hearing, and thusly, I will open up for public comment. Is there anybody in the room that wants to make any public comment? Seeing none, how about you, James?
No, sir.
How about you, Ray? All right. Hey, man, dot our i's, cross our t's, right, Kyle?
Better safe than sorry.
You got it. And I'm a rookie at this anyways. All right. So we have a motion, we have a second. We've had a robust discussion, presentation. So at this time, we will now take this to a vote. The vote is unanimous. So moved. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And up next, item 6, consent agenda, items A through E. I'll entertain a motion at this time.
I'll make that motion.
I got a motion to approve.
Quick
I have a
question.
second.
You don't mind? Quick question on this?
No.
Thank you. I know this will be really quick, but
Kevin, let's just pull the item that you want to discuss.
It's called a consent agenda.
okay.
So
well,
if you don't have consent, then we need to pull it
I just can't ask a
prior
quick,
to the meeting.
quick question.
Prior to starting. No, I'm just busting your
If you got a question on any item, let's just pull that item, and then we'll vote on the ones that are not.
Just pull it?
Yeah, just pull it.
Okay.
That'd be, yeah.
So I'd like to pull this item. C.
So the motion then is going to be to approve A, B, D, and E is the motion maker. Okay with that? Okay. And the second? Okay.
Sorry.
You're fine, Kevin.
Okay, I got a motion to approve A, B, D, and E. I have a second. Take it to a vote. Hold it. There you go. Vote is unanimous, so moved. 6C was pulled, the Zerby Street Calhoun Avenue pedestrian improvements, Phase 1, authorization to the city manager to negotiate and enter into a contract. Sir, you have the floor.
Appreciate it. There's the J. Miller construction bid that came through. Just two silly questions, maybe one silly question. Is it normal to have Bermuda sod, St. Augustine sod, and Centipede sod all installed, like on a project? Is there reasons to have three separate types of sod installed, like on our roadways, or is that like city right away? Sounds expensive. I just was curious, like $30,000 of sod, but there's 3 different types of sod, which when I do like a house, I just put one type of sod. I just didn't know if there's a specific reason. I apologize for throwing you on the
That is
on
a
the line with it.
perfectly reasonable question. And since we're talking about multimodal a lot tonight, this is a multimodal type project. That was the bid list that we provided to anyone that wanted to submit a proposal on this job included all 3 types. The motion that's listed at the bottom of this agenda item allows the city manager latitude to negotiate, and that is exactly the type of issue that we would talk to the contractor about uniformity and turf.
In other words, they have the option during the bid process in their bid to say, this company's going to provide Bermuda. Another company may say, for this amount of money, we'll provide St. Augustine. Is that basically how that works?
They could have bidded all St. Augustine, all Centipede, all Bermuda, all Zoysia, whatever they wanted to do. We just gave them that latitude based on their judgment, best practices. But we can certainly talk to them if we would like a uniform sod, if it's Zoysia or whatever. Based on staff recommendations, we can move forward with any turf material with this contractor. In addition, it also gives us the latitude to make a few adjustments. This was actually the second advertisement of this bid item, and they submitted a bid the first time, but they were the only bidder, so we just wanted to talk to them about a few of their prices.
I think what curious minds want to know is why would you use 3 different types of sod? I think is what it all boils down to. Rodney, you do a lot of that kind of stuff. Is there a particular reason why? Could it be location or amount of shade or that kind of stuff?
Yeah, but I don't think that a contractor would put 3 different types out there. He would just, he's going to buy just one. He's going to buy Centipede, but my recommendation would be to steer away from St. Augustine. That's what I have in my yard, and if you don't fertilize it, put, bud killer and all that in it every month, it dies, and it's hard to keep. It's good for, shady areas, but so is the zoysia. I'd just take that off the list altogether, St. Augustine. Bermuda's tough, and that's what they put on the side of the road, but that's my 2 cents.
Thanks, sir. And next is Ms. Hebert.
Thank you, Mayor. I was pretty much on the same line of what Rodney was just saying, Mr. Braden. We have St. Augustine, and it's terrible. I mean, if we have a way to move these guys to something that's going to be sturdy, then, that would be my recommendation. But thank you for letting us know.
Oh, yeah, we were definitely focused on a low-maintenance type turf material, but on the bid sheet that we advertised, it had the opportunity for them to make suggestions based on their professional judgment.
Also gave the opportunity for a lot of questions.
Just 3.
So,
thank you, Mr. Schmidt.
Does anyone else have any other things so we can go ahead and get this approved? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
There is a recommended motion if you just read it.
Anyone? Skip, you had it? Oh, yeah, Skip's not going to bail me out here. He's always ready with the
I'll make a
recommendation.
motion, the city manager be authorized to execute a contract with J. Miller Construction for the construction of the Zerby Street Calhoun Avenue pedestrian improvements, consistent with the scope of work identified in RFB 2014 PS, in an amount not to exceed $638,677.
Thank you, sir. I have a motion.
Second.
And I have multiple seconds, so seeing no further discussion, let's vote. Phew, man, it's 9 o'clock. Ayes have it, so moved. Okay. Item 7. And we will start. I'll let Mr. Smith have a little time. And I'll start with you, Ms. Bragg.
Thank you. Can we get an update on Airport Road curve? Where we at with that?
Yes, sir. I emailed with Jimmy Smith. He's the project manager with Soteris. The plans are currently in the construction office at District 3.
They give us a start date on that at all?
He did not offer one. That's all the information I have at this time.
Okay. How about the stop signs on Main Street and Kelly? We anywhere with that? Stop signs at Main Street and Kelly?
Yeah, the traffic study that was going to be.
Yes, so hopefully by the next council meeting, we'll have a full report for you and recommendations.
Who's, what engineer, what group is doing the study or whatever for the stop signs?
Dewberry.
Excuse me?
Dewberry,
Who's Dewberry?
it's an engineering firm.
Touche. Okay, thank you. And the, where are we at with the complaint process? There was a motion made on that one?
Yeah, that's with our labor attorney right now. He was adding those whistleblower elements. We can see where he's at. That was about, Webb Lance, you can help me, maybe 3 weeks ago we last talked to him. I'm not sure.
So we don't have any idea of when that might,
I'll email Mr. Larkin tomorrow and send an email to council and let you guys know what he says. So.
okay, thank you. And the Christmas lights on 98, I really appreciate the effort on that, but if it was me, I'd take them down. And we're already getting emails and complaints about how pitiful it looks, and I don't know, it just, I mean, like I said, told the city manager, it's a start, and I really appreciate that. We need to do something, but I'd just soon wait myself until we could really do something nice. Do we have any updates on the landscape redesign for 98? Where we stand with that?
Not at this time. I can reach out to Dusty and Pam tomorrow.
Yeah, if you can just shoot the council an update on that as well. And if you can, just kind of mention the 98 redesign. If they have any idea where they are in that process, that would be awesome. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Braden. Dr. Ramswell.
Thanks. I just wanted to share with everyone that the Destin High School project is moving forward at a very rapid pace right now. We are under contract. We were going to close by the end of December, but with the finance company that we have, they want all the permits in place before they actually close the contract. So really that's at this point probably more of a formality. In fact, we really feel strongly it is. The closing now will probably be in January, early to late January. The county has agreed to issue the bonds for the project, which is phenomenal news. We have hired a principal, and we are full steam ahead. So just wanted to share that with everybody. We have a press release coming out today or tomorrow, tomorrow or the next day, that'll elaborate a bit more than I did here tonight. But we're all very excited and things are progressing rapidly. So good news.
So are you allowed to say what the location is, or?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
location is the former Grace Lutheran Church next door to the former Y and Maddie Kelly. On Commons, yes.
Wait, that's awesome. 'Cause we hadn't heard anything for a while, so that's great news.
Yeah, we've had so much going on, but we didn't want to spill beans, and we wanted to make sure things were definite before we actually made further announcements, because everybody was disappointed that the other location didn't work out, and COVID and everything kind of set things back, but we are on track now. Everything looks great.
Yeah, I just want to make one comment that not 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, that seated council, the majority of them thought that was not even heard of, would never happen, wouldn't even know, no need to even talk about it, nothing. Just like underground.
Ever since I've been mayor, we've been 100%, this council's,
yeah,
myself, been
I'm just
100%
saying, like
behind
5-6
it. And
years
so
ago,
now
it
we're
was-
finally seeing some fruition come.
It was like
to play.
undergrounding, wasn't even used talking about it, that would never happen in the city of Destin, and it's coming.
And with some support from the school board as well. which is-
Absolutely. School board was a critical element. I mean, they had to approve our charter and the contract, which they did. Mr. Destin was a wonderful member that helped promote this cause, and the whole school board voted unanimously. So it's been a wonderful coming together of ideas and wishes and dreams, and we are really seeing it become a reality. It's wonderful. Yeah.
Is that it? All right, Mr. Destin, thank you for that great news, ma'am.
And congratulations on the school. I don't know if most of you are aware, we had another near fatal interaction between a bicycle and a car on Calhoun a couple weeks ago. and I've gotten a number of people that have called me or are concerned about the speed between New Park and Clement Taylor. A lot of speeding going on there, and they have asked that I bring it to the council for solutions, and I will turn it over to city manager. Speed bumps, I don't know what else we can do to slow it down. It's
Sheriff's
already
Department.
35.
We could call the sheriff's department and ask for some increased enforcement, correct?
We could do that, and it lasts for a while, but, you know, a permanent solution might be speed bumps. I know that we talked about speed bumps over on Kelly and Main. Are we even looking at that? Is that part of the report we're gonna get?
Michael, did you want to touch on that at all?
Are we talking about Kelly and Maine
Oh,
or
well.
Calhoun?
Kelly and Main, and then
Speed
that might
bumps.
be a solution to Calhoun. So if we can't implement it in Kelly and Main, it bodes ill for Calhoun. So tell me what's going on in
We
Kelly
can
and
certainly take a look at that. We have our new city engineer sitting right here.
All
So,
right. Well,
we can certainly take a look at that.
I would ask that y'all look at it. I can make a motion if you need that. I'll move that we ask the city manager to direct the engineers to look at the speed bumps on Calhoun, and if we haven't, at Main and Kelly also there.
Second.
I'd just love to hear an alternative. Yep.
Well, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second that.
I have a second. Any further discussion? Let's go ahead. Ayes have it, so moved.
And the only other subject I want to talk about, and I'll try to do it briefly, is as we have gone through this meeting tonight, we've recognized the problems we have with multimodal and some of the other things. So I would ask or make a motion to direct the city manager to get with staff and come up with some solutions for us, and to do it on a priority basis, because each one of these things we approve that doesn't have adequate parking and a number of other short problems is not doing a service to the city. And I will put that in the form of a motion also.
Let's go ahead, we'll go ahead and do a motion and open it for comment, because I want to add something to that. Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. What I'd like to see the staff do in that process is maybe by hearing our discussions, prioritize some of the most pressing needs of the code redevelopment or rewriting of our code. I know, Lewis, you have some in your planning department and stuff like that, but when it comes to parking, multimodal, those are really high on the list.
And the intent of my motion is to prioritize those right now.
So if you could give us a prioritized list, then when it comes back to us, then we can maybe reprioritize it once we get to see it.
Well, at that, and we need a time frame. And I know that with our present situation with staff and COVID and all of those things, that things are not working as fast as we would like. But 60 days, and then if we don't have anything, then we'll tighten it down a little bit more. Is that doable, Liz?
Yeah, 60 days, we can come up with at least some concepts for you to
Okay.
take a look at, yeah.
All right, I'll make that part of the motion.
All right. You okay with that with the second? Yep, okay, all right. So we have a motion and a second. Ray's got the motion down and staff's got the direction that this motion precludes. So we'll go ahead and vote on it at this time. Ayes have it, so moved.
And that's all for me.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Overdeer.
Okay, so I hope I don't get portrayed as the Grinch who stole Christmas, and or maybe worse than that, maybe like Ebenezer Scrooge or something. But you
should have dressed up in the green outfit.
Every day we get our updates from Pat Maddox and from Catherine on this COVID issue, what's going on and what the illnesses are that we have and the positivity rate and all that. And it's definitely south of where it's supposed to be. I mean, we're supposed to be down around 5 and we're up around 20 or 25. And so there's definitely there's an issue going on. Niceville, they canceled their Christmas parade. Navarre, they're not having a parade, they're still having their boat parade, but a boat parade and a street parade are certainly two different things. Crestview, they did their parade, but the thing that Crestview did, and I don't think that we can even do it here, but in Crestview, they took whatever their length of their parade was, say it was two miles, they increased it to 4 miles, so there was more room for the same amount of people, so they could social distance, they could do all the things that the CDC recommends, and they could do this parade more safely. I talked to some of the folks on the Okaloosa County Board of County Commissioners, and I kind of got a mixed emotions from them. Some are just, they don't care one way or the other. It doesn't matter whether we have a parade or whether we don't have a parade. All the way to the point of some of them are very adamant that there should never be anything during this emergency or crisis that we have right now that we should have a parade anywhere. When we talked with Lisa this morning, and I've talked with her later on this afternoon, the number of parade participants that we normally have is about 100. We're down right now to around 30. The number of volunteers that she typically has is around 20. Right now she has 7 volunteers. To my way of thinking, and this is just me talking, so if you don't agree with me, that's okay, but to my way of thinking, one of the primary reasons that we're here on the city council is to provide for the health and the safety and the security of the citizens of Destin. And I think that having this parade is not meeting those needs. And so for that reason, I just think that we should not have this parade during what's going on with us right now. And that's all I have to say about it. If you'd like me to make a motion and see if there's a second, I'll do that. Or if anybody else wants to have a discussion, we can have a discussion.
Since you were one of the yay votes at the last meeting, I think you can rescind and call for a new vote.
Well, so I'll make the motion that we cancel the Christmas parade for this year.
I second that.
I'm going to open this up for discussion.
A motion to reconsider would be proper since the other one passed. And if motion to reconsider passes, then we make another motion to cancel it as a way to do it correctly under Robert's book.
Yeah, since we're technically in a different session, we can do it this way, or we can do it the motion to reconsider route. Typically, you'd only do a motion to reconsider if it's the same legislative session. But we can do it either way, really.
I think in the interest of the meeting, we'll just do this new motion and have our discussion and vote on it. If you don't, it's legal under Robert's rules.
Well, I would disagree with that interpretation most likely because Robert's rule I read said 2 weeks or at the next meeting, a motion to reconsider is proper, but I don't care. We'll go with the meeting.
I don't either.
Yeah.
So,
no, we'll stick with the motion.
I'll make whatever motion is legal, but
yeah, we got a motion. Let's press on.
A little bit of discussion then?
Yes, that's what we're doing now. We got a motion, we got a second, and Kevin Smith. Nope, I kicked the wrong person. But go ahead, Kevin.
Sure. Well, I mean, I'll kick this off since I voted to have it. I understand everything that Skip's saying, and I know this is a fragile time for a lot. Health and safety, health and well-being of our citizens it's up to interpretation of a lot of things, including the mental health of our citizens, and a lot of them that want to get outside to celebrate Christmas with the parade is an important thing. Less participants, I mean, there could be positives and advantages of having less participants now this coming year. Less volunteers, I mean, that's unfortunate, but I know we have the Sheriff's Department in some capacity out there on the parade. I don't know exactly what they do. Do they do anything? Is the Sheriff's Department just on the south side of 98 just controlling that, or do they do anything with the parade itself?
Sheriff's Department is going to control the roads, and they are not participating in the parade, as they usually do.
So what are the volunteers that you're looking for to help?
Volunteers, the Rotary Club is the crowd control all the way down. We usually have around 20 of them that, just help keep the kids, not in the middle of the street. And then we have about 10 or so throwing candy out at the end of the parade.
Well, I mean, I'm sure if we need more volunteers, if we continue to have the parade after tonight, we could try to put a call out to different organizations that we know of, and then if we need volunteers, I'm sure we could probably find some, but, you know, I just, you know, I think that this is a big thing that we need to have, and we're giving people the choice to come outside and participate or not. They really don't have to come if they don't want to come at the end of the day, in my opinion, and I think we would have more participants if we didn't delay the announcement of it, to be honest. If we would have had it scheduled as is, it probably would have been more than 30 participants. And Fort Walton's having theirs right now as we speak, so other cities are doing it.
Ms. Abear.
Thank you, Mayor. I just, at this time, because we have had a lot of people dropping out that don't want to be part of it because their anxiety is high. We've got volunteers, and I've worked with Lisa in the past. You get 20, 30 people volunteering for something, now you're down to 7. You know, and now you got to go out and you got to try and struggle to get more people to volunteer to help, you know, keep people spread out on the streets. Everyone wants to be at these events because it's exciting and it's fun, but there's still, right now, people are just, their anxiety is high, and people are not sure if they want to be around people because they want to be around their grandparents for Christmas, and so I'm kind of on the fence, you know. I'm just, at this point, you know, I know we all need something exciting and something fun to do, but I just feel like we're kind of like being counterproductive on the safety side of what we should do for our citizens. That's my thoughts.
Thank you, Mayor. I've had one nay on the parade, multiple yays. Let's have it. I even contacted Lisa today at lunch because I kept getting people calling. You know, I want to know if we're having a parade. I want to know if we're having a parade. You know, wanting to do it. So, and my next question would be to Lisa. What's your recommendation? Can you pull it off? Can you pull it off safely? Do you have the personnel, city staff? Do we have enough? Do you think we have enough people? Is 30 enough to have a parade?
Well, I mean, you could have a parade with 30. We know that's a third of what we usually have. I mean, we're ready to go, so it really needs to be your decision.
Let me ask you this, what does the parade consist of? Is it taxi cabs and garbage trucks and, but what, I mean, what kind of parade are we having?
Right. Now, we do have the bands, Fort Walton Band, Destin Middle School Band. We have our Grand Marshal. We have Legendary, couple Queens, the car clubs are coming. Yeah. CrossFit. I mean, there are the Destin Council.
Is Santa Claus coming?
Santa Claus is coming. Yeah.
All right.
Fire department is not in the parade either. I'm sorry. They are in the back. Yes. Usually the fire department's in the front also with the sheriff and the Coast Guard and all those entities, but they are not participating in the parade. But yes, I'm sorry, the fire hook and ladder will be at the back with Santa. Yeah.
All right, my turn. I just saw a big report where the Secretary HHS just was on the news today stating he doesn't understand why all these states are closing outside dining because the science says outside dining is A-OK. So I would assume that if you can outside dine, that you could outside parade watch as well. So on the science side, I believe, especially if you're having a smaller parade with less participants and probably less people coming to the parade, that we would be in pretty good shape. A small parade is better than no parade in my mind, but it also may actually be good, like I said, because it allows for more social distancing groups outside of their own family unit. Maybe we could just not throw candy to help facilitate the mad scramble and violation of social distancing rules, but still have the parade. And the last thing is we still live in America and people can make their own mind up what's best for themselves and their family. And if we hold a parade that we've supported initially, but yet that family member or the people decide not to come because they're uneasy, well, that's a decision they make and that's A-OK. They're not going to come to the parade. But for all the people that would like to go to the parade, like Kevin and his family and mine, then we can have the parade. My family plans to attend because we're going to be in it. So those are just my thoughts on it. I really feel like there's no doubt that Okaloosa County has a uptick in cases of COVID-19, but I don't think, as in other places in the country, that it's from outside activities. Most of it is we're entering the winter months. People are starting to stay more at home. They're staying closer together, and and this uptick was expected, and we were told we were going to have it because it's also flu season. So I just think, I understand the concerns about safety, but I kind of think that our citizens can make up their mind. We provide them a parade. The ones that want to come will come, and I'm sure they'll keep safety in mind, and the ones that don't won't. But I'm in support of a parade. Ms. Ramswell.
Thanks. Well, I voted no last time, and it was for all the reasons that we've heard tonight. Ms. Hebert brought several of those up, and I did want to shed light on the fact that last night, I believe, or night before, was our drive-through Meet Santa thing that I heard people just loved. I wish we'd had more time to try to make that a bigger event, because that sounds like something that, maybe could have taken the place of the parade and still get the festive atmosphere, but that's neither here nor there. I will say that my concern was not necessarily for the participants in the parade, but all the little kids and the families and everybody all clustered together trying to grab the candy as we throw it. That was where I was thinking, because people walking in a parade can distance as they walk, and if you're in a cart with your family members, you're around them at home. But that was sort of my thought. But I'm in favor of canceling it. I wish there was something we could do, maybe something New Year's, that building on the drive-through idea. I know it's not the same, but I know the kids are all joking about, when the new year comes, we're all going to say Jumanji at the same time, and it's going to whisk us to a better year. And so it's kind of, New Year has become sort of a better thing to get us all out of 2020. So just a thought, maybe we could plan something around New Year's Eve, but we'd have to be doing it kind of quickly here. But anyway, those are my thoughts.
Yeah, my last comment before I go to Mr. Smith, and then we'll go to a vote, is that Tommy Browning, one of the most historic charter captains in the fleet, is supposed to be our Grand Marshal, and I would really not like to deny him that opportunity. He's a high risk factor guy, so I'm sure him and his family will keep that in consideration as the Grand Marshal of the parade. But, when you start getting at a certain age, Christmas 2021 may not always be guaranteed. So that's just another little issue with me. Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
Just 2 quick points, just like Mr. Braden. Unlike Mr. Braden, though, I've received all positive feedback, emails and messages, and I have yet personally to receive any emails or contacts from our constituents against this parade. I'm not saying that's the majority, but, me personally, that's all I've received. And secondly, the 30 people that are participating, even if half of them, it's a cost thing too. If we cancel it now, there's things that they're spending money on to design and get out there 5 days from now, and money. And if the school district's going to allow the schools to march in it, then they're pretty strict on their rules right now. If they're going to allow them to march in the parade, it's another positive thing for all of us. So I guess we can vote on it.
All right, let's go ahead and take this to a vote. So we got a couple more council members, and then we'll go home. I'll take a vote. Motion is to cancel the parade. If it fails, we're going to have a parade.
Yeah, just want to make sure. So if we don't like that motion, we vote no, right? I just want to be clear on that. Okay. Johnny is asking the same question. I just was man enough to press the button and that.
I hate to tell you, but your vote is locked. Tracy. Hold it. Webb's going to save you. Just tell him what your vote is. All right. The vote is 4-3, no. The motion fails, and we are having a parade in 2020. Saturday. And-
Lisa, I'd like to help with volunteers if you could remind me. We can try to get some more volunteers.
All right.
Okay.
Skip, anything else? That was all that Mr. Overdeer had?
I don't dare have anything else.
Hey, it's all right to lose every now and then.
Not me every now and then.
Man, I put off a hunting trip to make sure I was at this parade. So we having the damn parade.
Excuse me, Mayor.
I didn't say that because my wife didn't know I was planning on doing that.
I just want to make sure we're all okay with the candy, because that is not going to be an easy. I know Santa, I've already talked to Santa, and he has already made all his little toys to give out. So if you guys are thinking we are not throwing candy, that is going to be something very different that I need to try to.
No, we'll throw candy.
I got $300 worth of candy, I'm throwing it.
Mr. Braden made a point 2 years ago that we would not run out of candy by the time the end of the parade, so we did. We're throwing candy. All right. So, up next. Johnny, do you have something you want to say?
Yeah, I'm no physician or anything, but like, does it behoove us to wear gloves? And I mean, I laugh at the people wearing masks outside, but to give people peace of mind, does it behoove us to do those things?
To each his own, I think, is the best way to handle it. Make your own decisions based on CDC
Councilor Kane.
recommendations. What would you like, Angela? I see you have.
Angela, yeah. Thank you very much.
Yes, I would take that as a compliment. Your daughter is utmost beautiful. Go ahead, Lisa.
I know our staff will be wearing masks and shields, just to, so all of our staff, and we have them for our volunteers. So I guess you guys, we have them for you if that's what you like to do.
The mayor's not wearing a mask, but I will wear gloves to throw candy out to make people feel better. But I'm going to be walking out in the middle of the street outside on a sunny day. By the way, the weather forecast is really good. So, all right, that's a done deal. On to Miss Abear. Go ahead, Miss Abear.
Well, first of all, to talk to Rodney's point about the lights on 98, I did talk to Michael Burgess earlier this evening about the reason why our lights look so pitiful on 98 is because we don't have a lot of receptacles to plug in for electricity. I said, can we run some extension cords from like one point to the other? And he explained that we just didn't have the capability to do that. So I'd had people ask me about that. So that's the reason publicly why we do not have a beautiful 98, lit up. But Main Street looks pretty sharp. I'm real happy I live on Main Street and have to drive down it. Secondly, I want to commend Lisa and her team for the Santa drive-through lighting of the tree. I had so many people calling and texting and saying how awesome that was. Their kids loved it. That was a great plan, great idea. We really appreciate what you do with that. And other than that, let's have the parade. Don't come if you feel scared and you're worried about it. But for the little people that need something fun to look forward to, we're going to throw you some candy.
Mr. Destin, when we're renegotiating that undergrounding, Christmas light receptacles might have to be in the contract. Damn right. Thank you, sir. Just make note of that. All right.
I had just a follow-up. I know we had been talking with Gulf Power for quite some time about them allowing us to put things on their poles, like banners, decorations, and specifically for Christmas. And my understanding was that they did eventually say, yes, you could. So did we just not plan to do that this year? Michael or whomever is...
I was unaware that they allowed for that. I've always been told kind of the contrary.
I could have sworn at some meeting somebody told us that they had agreed to do it.
We can follow up with Gulf Power, certainly for next year as we start the planning
Yeah.
process the day after Christmas. That we'll We'll confirm that with them. And in addition, I'll mention to Dusty and Pam, Councilor Braden, tomorrow, if in that landscape improvement, if we can't throw a few plugs in there.
Yeah, all right, thank you. Thank you, Ms. King, Ms. Abear. Councilman King,
Nothing tonight, sir.
Councilman Smith.
Yes, Ms. Aber took my thunder as well, but the Christmas drive-through was amazing. So, I mean, you could keep doing it and build on it. It was awesome. I mean, there was even like snow flying, all sorts of stuff. So it was beautiful. Only other thing, sir, is, and we have the gentleman that's still here 4 hours into it, which is amazing. So I really appreciate it. But I'd like to follow up on the lighting on Highway 98. I know that there was a study account there was a count being done over the past year, and I've heard a little bit about it, but we haven't, it's been a while. But could you share like what is being done and then what it's looking like moving forward for lighting 98?
Yeah, certainly, the gentleman showed up at came to our Public Works and Safety Committee back in March of 2020 and relayed those same concerns that he did tonight. We've, every quarter, have had one of our staff members go out either at night or really early in the morning. Depends on if it's daylight savings time or standard time. And it takes about 3 or 4 days to ride the whole city, and he documents every pole, every light that's out. I can't remember the number from the first time, but I know the second time it was 110 citywide that were out. And then the last time, I believe it was somewhere right around 70 or 75. He documents all that, we bring it back into the office, and we go into that portal that he mentioned, the Gulf Power Street Outage Portal, and we report all those to Gulf Power. And if you'll indulge me for a minute, this is something that we put together. Can you hit R? Yeah, there we go.
Michael, I'm sorry, does anybody follow up on that once it's put into that portal that these lights are out?
Yeah, we check up on that thing periodically. When you report one as being out, it goes from a green icon to a red icon. If there's a problem with the pole or the light, it'll either turn orange or yellow, saying that it's not an easy fix. But eventually they'll turn all green, and for Councilor Menchel, he would bring that up periodically, and we would kind of give him a breakout of first it was 110, and then it was 80, and then it was 60, and then it was 40, and so they eventually do get all fixed, all get fixed. But this is from Gulf Power, and in our GIS, we have established a digital database of all of our street lights. Let's see if I can do this from the mouse. But we can fly down Harbor Boulevard, and all these things are street lights. Now, not all of them are city street lights. Some of them are in parking lots or on private property, but this is in their inventory. And you can go in and click one of these, like say this one right here.
This is the Gulf Power website, right? Where you
No,
click
no, no,
on-
this is something that our GIS manager created.
Our new system.
Can you announce that website so the public will know? Or
Well,
do you
this is
not
actually
want to yet?
a Google Earth file called a KMZ and that we use internally, but we also do have this information in the regular GIS. We're almost, it has been an arduous process, but we are almost 100% on our streetlight inventory. We have been working out little discrepancies here and there with Gulf Power's street lighting coordinator, I guess that's her position. But who pays the bill, what type of light it is, we've been working with her for 6 months trying to get this right. But finally, we're almost at the point where we have a finished product that is pretty much 100% correct. But on this inventory right here, you see I clicked that little dot right there, and you can see that this is a 250 watt high pressure sodium light, puts out 25,000 lumens. It's a Cobra head style light. If you go up, so this is Benning Drive, you can click on that one. Okay, that's a 200 watt high pressure sodium. So this is a very extensive inventory. Now, the gentleman mentioned earlier, and I'll go ahead and say it because we'll have viewers at home, but if you notice a street light's out and you don't feel comfortable getting online and reporting it through the Gulf Power portal, it's really easy, but feel free to use the City Help Desk at cityofdestin.com. You report it to us. We report several of these each week. As soon as we get the request in, we immediately report it to Gulf Power.
And when do they come do something about it?
Whenever they come do something about it. It varies drastically. We got one report today that it was the fourth report of this light. And I reported it again today. I sent a copy of that screenshot, and they promised me that they would be out there tomorrow to repair it.
804 Mars Street, add that one. Is that
What's that?
just for Gulf Power lights, or is that city lights too? Like who does the city, Gulf Power? The city-owned lights.
Okay,
Do
the
we fix
city,
those?
the city has about 1,450 streetlights in its inventory. The only ones that we actually own and we maintain are the ones right outside on Commons Drive. The rest of them, part of the monthly service that we pay for Gulf Power is maintenance. So if you see it now, kind of falls into that whole Homeland Security thing. If you see something, say something. If you notice something, a street light's out or a stop sign's down, feel free to call the city. We will be out there as soon as we can.
Can we hold their maintenance fee hostage and tell them the maintenance has been dilapidated for the last year?
I'll have to talk to our finance director about that one.
Mayor, if the council would like, in the old franchise agreement, there was a section that allowed us to audit our streetlights. Last time we did it, which was about 20 years ago, they had to give us close to $100,000 for streetlights that didn't work. I will be glad to discuss that with Gulf Power representative to see if we can get them to be.
Boy, that would make Mr. Menschel happy, wouldn't it?
Well, didn't he bring that
Steve,
up
I hope
like
you're
2
watching.
or 3 years ago?
We're on to something.
I believe he brought that up 2 or 3 years ago, and there was like 60,000 or something we were due. And it was also the same time when he'd found almost, God, I want to say almost $1 million worth. Does that sound right? In Crestview.
Just last fall, there's a lot of green, like they're like all green. Is that the case? That means they're all working on 98?
This is the Google Earth KMZ file. They're all green. This has nothing to do with their status. It's just the green kind of pops against the aerial. And Councilor Destin, we are in that process as well. That was part of this whole exercise, is to make sure that we're paying for what we're paying for, that it's our responsibility, and we're not paying for what we're not supposed to be paying for.
Well, I'm sure they would like to make them right. I'll talk to them. I've got probably 15 on my properties and 6 of them are working. So, and there's a new light out now that's brighter and better. And we can talk to them about some of those too.
Well, you were given the authority to do just that today.
I'll certainly talk to them and see
So
if
go-
that's still in the franchise, it's no longer in effect.
Just
All right.
last thing, Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, I'm sorry, I know this is.
Hurry up.
So do we, when you submit it to Gulf Power's little website, you said it's no, there's, it's hit or take how long it takes them to come out and fix it. Do we track when we submit it and then when we resubmit it or anything like that? Is there internal tracking for something
Sorry,
like
we
that?
receive an email for each individual one we submit.
So we would know how, okay.
What do I do? Okay, hang on one second. I'm sorry to belabor this meeting like this.
So am I.
No, streetlight safety
I
is very
apologize.
important. A lot of people.
Okay,
It's
this is Gulf Power's portal.
Yeah, this
Report a
is great.
streetlight outage.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go over here to Stallman, there we go. So the green ones are in operational condition. These two are out. These have been reported as out. And if you click it, you see the light type, and we are aware of the problem with this light. So eventually it'll go from red back to green once it's repaired.
Thanks, sir. Awesome. Is that it? I'm done. Land use attorney, ma'am.
Hi, I do have one quick item that I'd like to get some direction from the council on. The city of Brighton Beach is going to take up with the legislature proposing changes to the law on derelict vessels and try to lobby for some stronger protections against derelict vessels. I don't know all of the details of exactly what they want to propose yet, because I wanted to get council direction before I responded to the city of Bradenton Beach's attorney. But if you're interested, I can gather the information and bring it back at another council meeting for you to look at and digest.
Absolutely, in my opinion. And Mr. Destin's shaking his head, yes. We understand the maritime law and the difficulties that both the state, Coast Guard, and a city like ours has dealing with derelict vessels. So if they have found the magic bullet to deal with it, we'd sure like to hear about it.
Okay, I will reach back out to that attorney then, and I will come back at the next meeting with additional information.
Everybody here on the council agreeable to that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right,
Okay, that's
there
all.
you go. Mr. Bowman.
All right, really quick. Let me get through this real quick. I'm requesting that y'all schedule an executive session pursuant to Section 286.011(8) Florida statutes in the case of Carolyn L. Borland v. City of Destin, Florida et al., case number 2019 CA 002769 in the Circuit Court of the First Judicial Circuit in and for Okaloosa County. I'm requesting that it be held at 5:30 p.m. on December 21st, which is 30 minutes before our regular session that day. The executive session will be recorded by a certified court reporter, and the transcript shall be made part of the public record upon the conclusion of the litigation. Participants in the executive session will be council members Kevin Schmidt, Johnny King, Teresa Hebert, Skip Overdyer, Dewey Destin, Preble Ramswell, Rodney Braden, Mayor Gary Jarvis, City Manager Lance Johnson, City Attorney Kyle Bauman, City Land Use Attorney Kimberly Romano-Kopp, and the city's litigation attorneys Eric Krebs and Bill Warner. I have a recommended motion on there, if somebody would be so kind as to make it.
I'll entertain that motion at this time. Almost a motion in of itself, wasn't it, Kyle?
Yeah, statute's got a lot of requirements there.
Can we just use that as the motion?
Make the motion as expressed by our attorney.
That'll be fine.
Second
Motion, have a second. Any further discussion? Vote. The vote is unanimous, so moved. Mr. Bowman, you have anything else?
Nothing further, Mayor.
All right, before we can leave, our last part is public comment. Come on up, Marcy. I think you're the only one here. No, there are a few other folks. So you can start off our final public comment, and I will look to our IT folks and Ray before we close it. Go ahead.
Marcy Bell, 3 Gulf Breeze Court. To clarify my comment during item 5A earlier tonight, I was talking about the map that wasn't passed earlier where we weren't allowing golf carts. Thank you. It is late. Down Airport Road and such. So that's why I was questioning how those little vehicles were getting here, because we didn't pass that to allow them to come down Main Street or use Airport Road. Thank you. And I just wanted to, I'm not sure, I don't think anybody here was on that call, but there was a call with National Park Service back in November, 2 virtual public meetings in reference to Crab Island. Anybody else participate in that other than myself? Okay, so I don't know which one you participated in. I participated in the first one. Okay, so it's my understanding from that come March, they're going to make a decision on whether commercial activity will be allowed out at Crab Island at all. With that, my concern is that we've been talking about the finger jetty section of out there for the sand going in that you just talked about earlier tonight. So if they get moved off of Crab Island, where are they going to go? Are they going to start coming into that area where some of them already are? Or Noriega? Well, Noriega is not allowed for commercial. Right. But if you go back to the finger jetty section that I'm talking about. Correct. So they'll probably try to come in over there. Some of them are already there, and I have witnessed for the past few years where they back in on us when we're in the water. They throw anchor lines at us. I've reported this before here at council. So I just want to make the council aware of when they're moved and not allowed to be there this coming season, where they're all going to go and what kind of a safety issue that may set up for us there.
Those barges can't stay in that current. So that's not going to be an issue. It's just a smaller, the little drive around guys will be the ones that may move over there. But the bouncy game and the restaurants, they're not going to be able to.
Right, but with all of our parallel parking that we have and them coming out there.
Oh, yeah.
It's just.
Yeah.
Heads up for when I come back this summer and I'm like, hey, guys.
Yep.
Thanks.
You got it. Anyone else?
So at our next meeting, we're going to.
All right.
No, sir.
None there. Ray, nothing? Rodney's already beat me to it. Meeting adjourned.